Chapter 2087. Within the Dragon Seal Space. Senior, you are too weak. If you insist on doing this, I'm afraid you will die here. Yelisha had forcefully used the black fog to break through the suppression of the astral domain released by the trio. Now, Yelisha had two choices. The first choice was to give up the child and protect herself. In this case, Yelisha had a 70% chance of survival. The second choice was to forcefully have the child, but she would die without a doubt. What would Yelisha choose? Without even thinking about it, without the slightest hesitation, Yelisha chose to have the child. A mother's love was the greatest love in the world. For the child, Yelisha could give up her life. Deep veneration. Longao admired this mother very much. At this moment, he no longer regarded Yelisha as a Qilin god-beast, but as an ordinary mother, a mother who could sacrifice herself for her child. Within the Dragon Seal Space, Longao was the ruler. In a simple but well-furnished room, Yelisha tried her best to give birth. After a full day and night, Longao, I have a request. Senior, please speak. In fact, Longao had already guessed what Yelisha wanted him to help her with. He sighed deeply. Yelisha's injuries were too severe. Even a titled world king wouldn't be able to recover from such a severe injury. Help me take good care of the child. I can only give you 10 drops of blood. This is the rule of my Qilin clan. I hope you can understand. Senior, 10 drops are enough. Longao still didn't know if 10 drops of blood could help him break through to the Starry Sky Domain Emperor realm. However, he didn't want to say anything. A Qilin giving birth to a child and not hesitating to sacrifice herself to protect the child touched Longao greatly. Just as he finished speaking, 10 drops of blood shot out from Yelisha's body. Just as Longao swallowed the 10 drops of blood, Yelisha closed her eyes. In fact, Yelisha knew that she had already died. Even if Longao wanted to take away all the blood in her body, she couldn't do anything about it. She didn't know why, but she trusted this young man. Just as Longao was about to look at the child, his expression suddenly changed. The Qilin blood was too tyrannical. Even Longao couldn't bear to swallow 10 drops of blood at the same time. He had to refine them as soon as possible. Otherwise, the 10 drops of blood would be like an ocean pouring into a river. It was easy to imagine what would happen. He sat down on the ground and began to cultivate. Longao did not know if he could break through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm after devouring 10 drops of blood. However, he had full confidence that he would be able to refine it. Yes, with a 100% chance of breaking through to the Starry Skies realm sovereign realm, the blood of a titled world king Qilin was extremely tyrannical. It was even more tyrannical than the primordial soul of a Starry Skies world master. Longao's cultivation base was about to break through at any moment. Swallowing the primordial souls of 3 territory ancestors wasn't a joke. After 3 years of hard work and cultivation, his cultivation had finally broken through from the Starry Sky Domain Lord to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch. Although it was only a breakthrough of one realm, it was of great significance to Longao. With the help of 10 drops of Qilin blood, not only had his cultivation base successfully broken through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm, but he had also reached the peak of the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. He was only one step away from breaking through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. Master, congratulations on breaking through to the peak of the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. However, to break through the last step and reach the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm, you will need a huge amount of energy, far more than the energy needed to break through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. He sighed helplessly. How could Longao not know what Long Fu had said? Breaking through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm required such a huge amount of energy. It was hard to imagine how much energy was needed to break through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. Not to mention 10 drops of blood. Even 100 drops of blood might not be enough to break through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. The sacred reincarnation physique had its advantages and disadvantages. He didn't continue to dwell on this problem. His cultivation speed was already very fast. In just a few years, he had gone from the trash of Scarlet Fire Town to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. It was like a dream. He picked up Yelisha's body and left the Dragon Seal Space. Longao could clearly sense that the three of them had left Death Valley. He wasn't going to take Yilisha away. No matter what, Death Valley was still Yilisha's place. This was Yilisha. If it were any other divine beast, Longao wouldn't have been so polite. Longao was confident that if he could devour all of Yilisha's blood, including her primordial spirit, he would definitely be able to break through to the Starry Sky Domain Monarch realm. However, he didn't do so. Finding the grave of Yilisha's husband, Longao took out the bones and found a very secluded place for the two of them, where no one could find them, and buried them together. Longao wasn't sure if anyone from the Heaven-Devouring Empire would enter Death Valley. What if they found Yilisha's grave? For safety's sake, he chose to move them. What about the little fellow? It was a cute little Qilin that had reached the 7th level of the Starry Sky realm as soon as it was born. It wasn't strange. If it was in the Martial Sky continent, it wouldn't be possible. However, in the vast universe, it wasn't strange. Longao didn't plan to keep the little fellow for himself. No matter what, the little fellow had no parents. He had to find someone for it to rely on. After witnessing the death of a titled world king, Longao felt a little depressed. This was all caused by Shintung and the others. If the three of them hadn't appeared, Yilisha wouldn't have died. She would have been able to stay with her child forever. Since this matter was over, Longao didn't continue to dwell on it. Thinking about it, the Heaven-Devouring Empire still didn't know about Yilisha's death. Since they didn't know, he wouldn't say anything. He believed that the Heaven-Devouring Empire would be afraid of Yilisha. Let alone Yilisha, even he would think that Yilisha would be able to give birth and recover her strength. If Yilisha recovered her strength, her first mission would be to destroy the Heaven-Devouring Empire. So if there were no accidents, Shuntong would definitely go all out to defend her. Everyone knew how powerful a titled world king was. If Yilisha had chosen to fight with both sides, even Shuntong and the others wouldn't have dared to underestimate her, especially if she had chosen to self-detonate. At that time, even if the Heaven-Devouring Empire could kill Yilisha, they would suffer heavy losses. However, now that Yilisha had died, it was impossible. As for the enmity between him and Yilisha, Longao wouldn't give up so easily. He wouldn't rest until he destroyed the Heaven-Devouring Empire. After leaving Death Valley, Longao didn't leave the Heaven-Devouring Plain. Instead, he went to find Iji Mei and Heifeng to see who was more suitable for the little fellow. Chapter 2088. As soon as they stepped into the Heaven-Devouring Empire, they chose to leave. They knew that Longao had started to deal with the Heaven-Devouring Empire. It was unbelievable. The Heaven-Devouring Empire was a colossus in front of them. Even other empires wouldn't be able to do anything to the Heaven-Devouring Empire. They knew Longao's character well. He wouldn't change his mind once he had decided on something. Brother Long, are you all right? Looking at the sudden appearance of Longao, whether it was Iji Mei or Heifeng, both of their faces lit up with joy. Seeing that Longao was fine, they heaved a sigh of relief. I'm fine. Longao also heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that both of them were fine. There's something I need to tell you. Longao didn't hide anything and told them everything that happened in Death Valley. The more they listened, the more shocked they were. They didn't believe that Longao could fight against 3 titled world kings. However, after thinking about it, they understood. Longao was a miracle. He was only a level 8 Cosmic Realm cultivator back then, but he dared to challenge the Heaven and Earth sect and the Heaven-Devouring Empire. Brother Long, do you mean that either of us can sign a bloodline contract with the little fellow? That's right. Longao meant exactly that. He didn't trust anyone else. As for his family, they were all in the Sky Martial Plain. After thinking about it, Heifeng and Iji were the safest choice. As for whether it was Heifeng or Iji, it would depend on who was more suitable for the little fellow. No problem. Longao carried the little fellow out of the Dragon Seal space. It was very cute. Level 7 Cosmic Realm. It seems like this little fellow isn't simple. If it inherits its mother's bloodline, it will definitely grow into a titled world king. If such a cub was released, it would definitely be fought over by many. Heifeng and Iji looked at each other and released their Yuan spirits. They slowly approached the little fellow. Iji, you're in luck. Spray of Plum Blossom nodded in surprise. He didn't expect that when he and Haifeng released their primordial spirits at the same time, the little guy would choose him instead of Haifeng. Haifeng was not displeased at all. Brandish Plum seemed to be in a hurry as he picked up the little fellow. He immediately began the bloodline contract. At this moment, Longao finally heaved a sigh of relief. Brother Long, what are you going to do next? The two of them were well aware of Longao's character. Since he had already chosen to make an enemy out of the heaven-devouring empire, he would not rest until he destroyed the heaven-devouring empire. Previously, Longao was only a grade 8 starry sky cultivator. How could Chinku insect be a match for Longao? Definitely not. However, it was under such circumstances that Longao managed to shake up the Chinku insect. Other than Ancestor Chinkuan and Fangxia, everyone else was killed and the Chinku insect disappeared. If it didn't happen, how many people would believe that a grade 8 starry sky cultivator could shake the mighty Chinku insect? Right now, Longao's cultivation base had already broken through to the starry sky domain monarch realm. No one knew who would have the last laugh against the heaven-devouring empire. The current heaven-devouring empire was just like the Chinku insect. I won't leave the heaven-devouring realm for the time being. The two of you should leave first. Even though Mei and Haifeng were starry sky territory ancestors, they were useless against the heaven-devouring empire. Longao did not want to implicate his friends. If he was alone, even the heaven-devouring empire wouldn't be able to do anything to him. How could the two of them not understand Longao's intentions? Mei and Haifeng said in unison, Brother Long, you're underestimating us. If you treat us as friends, we'll share fortune and misfortune together. True friends should share blessings and misfortunes together. If it were anyone else, they would have run faster than anyone else in the face of the heaven-devouring empire. However, both Mei and Haifeng had chosen to stay instead of leaving. Looking at the determination of the two people, Longao also did not say much. The two of you, don't act recklessly. Stay here and cultivate. When I need you, I'll look for you. Don't worry, we won't be a burden to you. If it were any other time or other people, it would be awkward to say such words. It was ridiculous that two starry sky territory ancestors would be a burden to a starry sky world emperor. However, the two of them knew that they would be a burden to Longao if they stayed with him. If Longao could shake the heaven-devouring empire, could the two of them do the same? Mei, you've already signed a bloodline contract with the little guy. You have to seize the time and make the little guy break through to the starry sky territory ancestor realm in the shortest time possible. Then, you won't be afraid of any cultivators below the starry sky realm lord. I understand. Mei knew what Longao meant. The little guy must have inherited his mother's powerful bloodline. He was already a grade 7 starry sky realm cultivator when he was born. He believed that it wouldn't take long for the little guy to grow into a starry sky territory ancestor realm lord. Longao did not leave immediately. No matter what, he had only used 10 drops of blood to break through to the starry sky domain emperor realm. He had to stabilize it first. Otherwise, it would hinder his future breakthroughs. In the secret chamber, Longao sat cross-legged quietly. He had not left the secret chamber for a month. After a month of cultivation, he had finally stabilized his starry sky domain emperor realm. Big brother, my cultivation base has also broken through to the starry sky domain emperor realm. He was not surprised at all because Longao had already guessed that as his cultivation broke through, he believed that Longchang's cultivation would break through as well. There was no doubt about it. Longao was curious. Usually, even if Longchang had broken through, he wouldn't come out to tell him. What was going on today? Why would he do that? Was there a hidden meaning in his words? If you have something to say, just say it. Don't be shy with me. Chuckling, Longchang thought for a while and said, Big brother, my cultivation base has just broken through to the starry sky domain emperor realm. I seem to have obtained some inheritance. As for what it is, I don't know. However, I'm sure that the inheritance is related to my origin. Origin? The little guy's origin was indeed a question worth pondering. Longao knew that the little guy's origin wasn't simple. As for why he had appeared in the Tianwu continent, he didn't know. Stepping into the vast starry sky this time, Longao was also prepared to help the little fellow investigate the little fellow's background and origin. Try your best to sense the inheritance. If you find any clues, tell me. After I've dealt with the heaven-devouring empire, I'll accompany you to find your origin. Chapter 2089. Long Chang's background wasn't simple. His cultivation had stabilized, and he was only one step away from becoming a Starry Sky region emperor. However, this step was extremely difficult. Long Chang tried to break through, but he always felt powerless. The amount of energy required to break through to become a Starry Sky region emperor was simply too great. Long Chang did a rough calculation. If he wanted to break through to become a Starry Sky region emperor, he would need at least 30 drops of Qilin blood. He was helpless. The heaven-devouring empire still didn't know about Yilisha's death. Shintang was worried that he couldn't kill Yilisha. If Yilisha came, it would be troublesome. The current heaven-devouring empire was on high alert, as if they were facing a strong enemy. But the result? 10 days passed in the blink of an eye, and there was still no sign of Yilisha. Was Yilisha not coming? Chuntung didn't dare to relax in the slightest. No matter how it was said, Yilisha was still a god-beast of a titled world king. Even if her strength was inferior to his when she left Death Valley, if she chose to die together with them, she would still be terrifying. Heaven-devouring empire. At the peak of Blackwood Cliff, Ancestor Qian Kuan sat quietly at the peak, looking at the endless void in the distance. He let out a long sigh. After 3 years of seclusion, he had finally reached the peak of Starry Sky World Lord. His next step was to become a Starry Sky World King. 3 years later, I will be able to become a Starry Sky World King. At that time, becoming a titled World King will be just around the corner. Ha ha ha. Right at this moment, Shinting suddenly descended and said with a smile, "Congratulations, Your Majesty, thank you for your support. Fangshan, when you disappeared for no reason back then, I thought you had died. I didn't expect you to destroy your own primordial spirit and enter the reincarnation Tao. Based on your current situation, you will be able to become a titled world king in 30 years. Shinting already knew the identity of Ancestor Qian Kuan, who was also known as Fangshan. Fangshan was the second master of Qian Kuan sect, and the one with the strongest talent. When Fangshan became a titled world king, he disappeared for no reason. Everyone thought that Qian Kuan sect would reach the peak under his leadership. Who would have thought that things would turn out like this? Because of Fangshan's death, Qian Kuan's sect's strength. Fangshan smiled. Your Majesty, I will keep my word. I will follow the empire and never forget it. All right, that was exactly what he wanted. Perhaps Shintang wouldn't care about a space sector lord. However, how could Shintang easily give up on a Starry Sky World King? Especially one who was about to break through to the titled World King realm? Your Majesty, is there something you need from me? Fangshan was very curious. He was well aware of Chantang's character. Ever since he entered seclusion, no one from the heaven-devouring empire had come to disturb him. This was enough to show how much Chantang valued him. But after thinking about it for a bit, he understood. No matter where a titled world king went, they would be valued. At the mention of this, Chantang's expression changed instantly. He was furious and solemn. Looking at Shintang's expression, Fangshan had a bad premonition. As the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire and a titled world king, Shintang was an existence that could summon the wind and summon the rain. Longao is here. Longao? Hearing Longao's words, Fangshan instantly understood what had happened. A murderous aura that seemed to have materialized erupted from his body. According to his original plan, Qingkuan sect would slowly recover their strength. Once they reached the titled World King realm, it would be the time for Qingkuan sect to rise. At that time, even the heaven-devouring empire wouldn't dare to casually provoke Qingkuan sect. But in the end, it was because of Longao that his plans were completely disrupted. The entire Qingkuan sect was destroyed, and he was forced to join the heaven-devouring empire. Longao was the main culprit behind all of this. Your Majesty, I believe you should know about the grudge between me and Longao. It's either me or him. Fangshan was very worried. With Longao's talent and everything else, If Shunting wanted to take him in, what would he do? Fang Shan was very afraid of the heaven-devouring empire. Not to mention that he hadn't recovered his strength yet. Even if he recovered to the titled World King realm, he still wouldn't be able to shake the entire heaven-devouring empire. Fang Shan was betting that Shantang would definitely choose him and not Longao. No matter what, he would definitely become a titled World King in the future. As for Longao, he wasn't completely confident. Not to mention titled World King, Longao might not even be able to break through to the Starry Sky World King realm. Fang Shan, I know what you mean. Longao killed my son. How can I let him live? Chun Tang did not try to hide anything. He gave a rough account of what had happened. The more Fang Shan heard, the darker his expression became. He never thought that Longao would dare to step into the heaven-devouring plane and even openly provoke Shentong. This was no different from courting death. Your Majesty, Longao's strength and talent are only SOSO. It's just that he has many secrets on him, especially his spatial divine tool. He used this spatial divine tool to escape time and time again. The treasures and secret techniques on Longao were enough to shake the vast universe. Whether it was Shentong or Fang Shan, they naturally hoped to obtain them. If they could obtain these treasures and secret techniques, especially the spatial divine tool, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. However, it was really difficult to get the treasures and secret techniques. Unless it was a sure kill attack, otherwise, as long as Longao had a chance to react, then even if he could kill Longao, he would not be able to get the treasures and secret techniques. Fang Shan, I believe you know what I mean. Longao isn't a simple person. The only thing I'm worried about is that there is a mysterious expert behind Longao. According to the information we received, this person should have come from a sealed plane. As for the situation of this plane, we have no idea. Your Majesty, what do you want to do? As long as Longao isn't, it will be difficult for us to obtain any information about this plane. My intuition tells me that the plane behind Longao is not simple. That's why we came in to capture Longao alive. Fang Shan was very curious. Even Shunting and the others couldn't capture Longao. How could he? Even if he had a breakthrough in his cultivation, he was only at the pinnacle of the Starry Sky Sector Lord. As if he could guess what Fang Shan was thinking, Shunting said, I want to use you as bait to lure Longao out. No problem. Fang Shan didn't even think and agreed. He didn't know about Jin Sheng. In Fang Shan's opinion, with his current strength, Longao was trash. If Longao came, he might be able to kill him in one strike, obtain all the treasures and secret techniques, and then escape. Chapter 2090. Unknowingly, the news of Ancestor Heaven and Earth being at Blackwood Cliff had spread. Be it Shunting or Fang Shan, both of them were waiting for Longao. If it was anyone else, they would definitely not have come, regardless of whether this was a bait or not. No matter what, the heaven-devouring empire was strong. Going to Blackwood Cliff in the heaven-devouring empire was suicide. Except for Longao. The two of them knew Longao well. Even though he knew that the heaven-devouring empire was strong, he still took the risk to kill Jin Sheng. Unfortunately, until now, Fang Shan still did not know that Jin Sheng was killed by Longao. If Fang Shan knew that Longao could kill Jin Sheng, he would not be willing to continue being bait. Longao must have heard the news by now. In the courtyard, Brother Long, don't tell me that you're going to kill Ancestor Heaven and Earth in the heaven-devouring empire? Yi Mei and Heifeng were very clear about Longao's character, especially the grudge between him and old Ancestor Heaven and Earth. If it was any other place, it would be fine. But the heaven-devouring empire was too dangerous. Although they didn't know how Longao did it, they knew that if Longao was strong enough to shake the heaven-devouring empire, he wouldn't have waited so long. Brother Long, Yi Mei is right. This is obviously a trap. Ancestor Heaven and Earth is using himself as bait to lure you to the heaven-devouring empire. Bait? Longao chuckled. How could he not know what Ancestor Heaven and Earth and Shentong were up to? It was obvious that Patriarch Heaven and Earth was using him as bait to lure him to the Blackwood Cliff of the heaven-devouring empire. If he really went there, he would fall right into their trap. Since they want to lure me there, I'll make a trip there. Hearing that Longao was really going, The two of them were depressed. Before they could say anything, Longao said, "Don't worry. I know my own life. If I can kill Jin Shang, I can kill Ancestor Heaven and Earth." Since that was the case, what else could they say? Be careful. He nodded. Longao had already thought about this matter. Ancestor Heaven and Earth had been used as bait to lure him over. Even Shantang and Lin Fan were not sure whether he would go or not. Under normal circumstances, he would definitely not go. It was precisely because of this that he wanted to do the exact opposite. If he was alone, Longao wouldn't have taken the risk. He was well aware of the difference in strength between him and the heaven-devouring empire. However, the situation was different now. With the help of 2 Starry Sky Corp slaves, it was more than enough to kill Ancestor Qinkuan. As for titled World Kings and Starry Sky World Kings, as long as he was careful, he should be fine. Longao disguised himself as Black Wolf and entered the heaven-devouring empire. Now that Longao was a core disciple of the heaven-devouring empire, he could enter the inner regions of the empire. No one knew. Whether it was Shen Tang or Fang Shan, neither of them had expected Longao to enter the heaven-devouring empire in such a manner. Even now, Shen Tang had no idea how Longao had managed to enter Heaven's Endcliff without anyone knowing. Longao first looked for Yizi. Before Longao could say anything, Yizi asked anxiously, "Black Wolf, where did you go? What's wrong? You might not know, but the empire is facing an emperor. I heard that Qilin, the titled World King of Death Valley, is about to attack. Moreover, Longao is eyeing us covetously." Yi Lisha? It seemed like Shentang was still unaware of Yi Lisha's death. Since that was the case, things would be much easier. Longao finally understood why Shentang was so wary. If he was alone, Shentang wouldn't have put him in his eyes. However, since he had helped Yi Lisha, there was no doubt that Yi Lisha would help him as well. The might of a titled world king was something that even the heaven-devouring empire was wary of. "Yizi, there's something I want to talk to you about. However, you can't leak this out. Otherwise, I'll be in big trouble." Seeing Longao's serious expression, Yizi was curious. He nodded and said, "You've known me for so long. Don't you know my character? I can swear a blood oath." "I believe you." Even though they hadn't known each other for a long time, Longao knew Yizi's character. He was definitely a good person who was worth befriending. "Yizi, I'm Longao. I came here with only one goal, and that is to kill Ancestor Qiankuan. Don't mess around." Yizi laughed. Black Wolf was Longao? What a joke. In Yizi's eyes, Longao was a godlike existence. As for Black Wolf, he was just like him, an ordinary member of the heaven-devouring empire. Seeing that Black Wolf didn't seem to be lying, Yizi's expression turned serious. Suddenly, the other party's aura surpassed that of a domain lord. It was obvious that he was a domain emperor. Could Black Wolf really be Longao? "Are you really Longao? I'm the one." Yizi knew very well that he couldn't just admit it. Longao was the public enemy of the heaven-devouring empire. If he admitted that he was Longao, the consequences would be unimaginable. Black Wolf wasn't a fool. He wouldn't admit that he was Longao for no reason. "Senior Longao, I. Yizi stuttered. Longao had always been his idol. Now that his idol was right in front of him, how could he not panic? "Yizi, we're still friends. There's no need to call me a senior. I need your help." Despite saying that, Yizi was still a little reserved. The thought that the person standing in front of him was the legendary Longao made him excited. "Tell me. As long as it's within my means, I'll definitely do it. I'm here to kill old Ancestor Qiankuan. Tell me more about the Blackwood Cliff." Longao might not know about Blackwood Cliff, but that didn't mean that Yizi didn't know. As the saying goes, "Know thyself and know thy enemy, and thou shalt be victorious in every battle." This trip to Blackwood Cliff was fraught with danger. Yizi nodded. He knew how serious the matter was. He immediately told Yizi everything he knew. To Yizi, the heaven-devouring empire didn't have any feelings for him. On the other hand, he and Black Wolf, or Longao, got along well. Yizi hoped that Longao could defeat the heaven-devouring empire, even though the chances were slim. "Senior Longao, This is everything I know about the Blackwood Cliff. However, you still have to be careful. Right now, the Blackwood Cliff is filled with danger. If you go, I'm afraid that you will fall into the trap that Chenteng set up. Chapter 2091. I know. Longao was well aware of Ye's worries. Despite knowing that there was a tiger in the mountain, he still went there. Since Ancestor Heaven and Earth and Shan Tong had purposely baited him, he would fulfill their wish. It was impossible to kill Shan Tong, but it was more than enough to kill Ancestor Heaven and Earth. Not to mention the two universe corpse demons, any one of them would be able to deal with Ancestor Heaven and Earth. Longao was wary of Ancestor Heaven and Earth. After all, Ancestor Heaven and Earth was the reincarnation of an expert. No one knew when he would break through to the titled World King realm. He had to get rid of Ancestor Heaven and Earth as soon as possible. He had to cut the weeds and dig up the roots to prevent future troubles. Yi, this is the godhead of a Universal Domain Emperor. The godheads of the Universal Domain Emperor and Universal Domain Ancestor were gone. Only a few Universal Domain Emperors were left. But to Yi, the godhead of a Universal Domain Emperor was incomparably precious. It would be difficult for Yi to obtain the godhead of a Universal Domain Emperor with his strength alone. Senior, if you treat me as a friend, don't reject it. Many thanks. Longao didn't linger because he didn't want to implicate Yi. If the people of the Heaven-Devouring Empire knew that he had a good relationship with Yi, they wouldn't let Yi off. Looking at the godhead in his hand, Yi trembled with excitement. He wouldn't die if he didn't seek death. Perhaps it was because he was too excited, but 3 days later, he couldn't hold back and told his close friend about his relationship with Longao. In Ye's opinion, friends, especially close friends, wouldn't reveal their secrets. But what happened in the end? In the face of great benefits, friends were nothing. 3 days later, Yi was under Shan Tong's control. Longao had a rough understanding of the situation in Blackwood Cliff. He knew that there were many experts in Blackwood Cliff now. As long as he stepped in, he would be surrounded. He couldn't fight them head-on. He could only use his wits. Longao found a secluded place to stay and thought of various ways to get the best of both worlds. Night fell. The 9 heavens were filled with stars. Longao couldn't hold it in any longer, because the longer he delayed, the more troublesome it would be. In the pitch-black night, a figure flashed past quickly. Blackwood Cliff. Under normal circumstances, Blackwood Cliff was the same as Heaven's End Cliff. They were both places where Starry Sky World Lords cultivated in seclusion. Without breaking through to Starry Sky World Lord, one wouldn't have the qualifications to enter. Even though Ancestor Qian Kuan was also a Starry Sky World Lord, he wasn't qualified to enter the Blackwood Cliff. Against all objections, Shan Tong resolutely arranged for Ancestor of Heaven and Earth to enter the Blackwood Cliff to practice. Others might not know, but how could Chenteng not know? Although Ancestor Heaven and Earth was not qualified, his strength was definitely enough. Right now, Ancestor Heaven and Earth was already at the peak of the Starry Sky Realm Master Realm. If nothing unexpected happened, breaking through to the Starry Sky Realm King Realm and even becoming a titled Realm King wouldn't be a problem. Shan Tong was very good at winning over people's hearts. Inside Blackwood Cliff, Ancestor of Heaven and Earth was resting with his eyes closed. In reality, he was vigilant of his surroundings. Even now, he wasn't sure if Longao would come. After all, it was impossible for Longao to not know the significance of Blackwood Cliff. A black figure flickered and Longao's figure appeared in Blackwood Cliff. Looking at the youth in front of him, Fang Shan laughed. Longao, I can't help but admire your courage. You actually dared to come to Blackwood Cliff. You really don't know how to write the word death. Shintong, Shinjua, and Shanhe arrived at the same time. 3 titled Realm Kings and 1 Starry Sky World Lord. With 4 super experts joining forces, Longao wouldn't be able to escape. His face was cold and expressionless. Ancestor of Heaven and Earth, this time, I will eliminate the source of the problem. With just you? Fang Shan laughed. He had seen arrogant people before, but he had never seen such arrogance. Longao's arrogance was rare in the world. Shenteng and the other 2 laughed and said, Fang Shan, we will leave this person to you. The three of them retreated. Longao's strength was well known. If it weren't for his secret technique and spatial divine tool, would Longao have dared to be so arrogant? However, all the exits of Blackwood Cliff had been sealed off, with 3 titled realm kings guarding it. Even if Longao had 3 heads and 6 arms, he wouldn't be able to leave alive. Since that was the case, they would give Fengshan some face. Universe Sect's second master, Fengshan? It seems like you already know. Longao had studied the history of Universe Sect. Among the dozens of masters, including the first Universe World Lord, only the second master, Fengshan, had the greatest talent and strength. It was said that he had reached the titled Realm King realm, but he had disappeared without a trace. So it turned out that he had reincarnated. Even if that's the case, you must die. The four stopped laughing. Longao was so confident that they were curious. What gave this person such confidence? Was it because his cultivation had broken through from the Starry Sky Domain Lord to the Starry Sky Domain Emperor? In their eyes, the Starry Sky Domain Emperor was a trash existence, not to mention one, even if there were 1,000,000 of them. So what? Fengshan didn't seem to want to waste any more time. He took a step forward and shot towards Longao. Before he arrived, his killing intent had already arrived. Longao was still calm, as if he didn't place Fengshan, Shuntung, and the other two in his eyes. The more he was like this, the more curious the four became. They began to mutter to themselves. Was Longao really so unafraid of death? Although Shentung and the other two didn't attack, they still released their astral domains. Under the layers of suppression, the three of them were confident that Longao wouldn't be able to enter the spatial divine tool. In this kind of situation, killing Longao was 100% certain thing. In the blink of an eye, the two were already engaged in a fierce battle. In a few short seconds, Longao was attacked continuously. He didn't die? Fengshan was completely dumbfounded. He was very confident in his own strength. Not to mention the Starry Sky Domain Emperor. Even the Starry Sky Domain Ancestor couldn't resist so many of his attacks. When did Longao's physical defense become so strong? Not only Fengshan, even Shantung and the other two were a little surprised. However, the three of them still didn't attack. A strong defense didn't mean a strong strength. If Fengshan couldn't even deal with Longao, he would have to re-evaluate his value. He had lost all his face. With his strength, he couldn't kill Longao under continuous attacks. To him, it was simply a great humiliation. They attacked with all their strength. However, at this moment, Longao's figure suddenly disappeared. That's right, he disappeared into thin air. Even though the 3 titled World Kings had released their astral domains, he still disappeared. They were a little dumbfounded. What had just happened? Longao just disappeared into thin air? Chapter 2092. Was what had just happened real? Longao's sudden disappearance was a huge blow to the trio. As titled World Kings, the 3 of them had worked together to lock onto Longao, but they still hadn't been able to do so. Longao had still managed to escape. It was simply a disgrace. In fact, the 4 of them didn't know that the Longao that had just appeared wasn't the real Longao, but Longao's reincarnated avatar. The 3 titled World Kings' astral domains might be able to suppress Longao, but they couldn't seal the reincarnated avatar. This was also the reason why the reincarnated avatar could leave and disappear as he wished. Just as the 4 of them were feeling depressed and angry, the reincarnated avatar appeared once again. Trash. 4 pieces of trash. Being humiliated by Longao like this, the 4 of them were completely enraged. Especially the 3 titled World Kings. They immediately joined forces to attack. This time, the reincarnated avatar didn't disappear but shot into the distance. The 3 of them were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they and the reincarnated avatar had disappeared without a trace. Only Fengshan was left. Fengshan, we haven't seen each other in 3 years. How have you been? Looking at the Longao that had suddenly appeared in front of him, Fengshan wasn't a fool. He instantly understood what had happened. The one that had lured the 3 of them away was the reincarnated avatar, not the real Longao. Even so, what could he do? From the beginning to the end, Shan hadn't put Longao in his eyes. Even if Longao's cultivation had broken through from Starry Sky Domain Lord to Starry Sky Domain Emperor, he still wasn't his match. The difference between a Starry Sky Domain Emperor and a Starry Sky Domain Lord was simply not on the same level. Longao, I really admire you. Do you think you can kill me just because you lured the three of them away? Did Shan not know that he had already killed Jinsheng? Looking at Shan's expression, Longao was certain that Shan definitely didn't know. Longao laughed. What are you laughing at? He didn't know why, but a bad premonition arose spontaneously. Longao came here so openly and fearlessly. Could it be that he had something to rely on? If that was the case, wouldn't he be in a lot of trouble? It seems like the heaven-devouring empire doesn't treat you well. He didn't say anything because he didn't know what Longao was up to. Jinsheng is dead. Jinsheng is dead? Their first reaction was disbelief. With Jinsheng's strength and the backing of the heaven-devouring empire, who could possibly kill Jinsheng? Shan was no fool. He seemed to have thought of something. With a face full of shock, he said, "Don't tell me that you killed Jinsheng? What do you think? Could it be that Longao really killed Jinsheng? Impossible. Absolutely impossible." He was well aware of Jinsheng's strength. It was almost impossible for Longao to kill Jinsheng, even if he used secret techniques and treasures. However, Longao didn't seem to be lying. If that was the case, why didn't Shenteng tell him about Jinsheng's death? In an instant, Shan understood what was going on. If Longao was telling the truth, then Shenteng was hiding it from him because he wanted to use him as bait to lure out Longao. If he told him the news of Jinsheng's death, he would have some fear. Whether he was willing to continue being bait was really an unknown. Even though Shan knew that it was normal for Shenteng to do this, he still felt uncomfortable. He had already joined the heaven-devouring empire, but Shenteng still did this because he didn't treat him as one of his own. Or was it because Shenteng was confident that Longao couldn't kill him with the three of them suppressing him? No matter what, he couldn't lower his own morale. Longao, even if you can kill Jinsheng, you might not be able to defeat me. Why don't we give it a try? Shan's heart skipped a beat. The more confident Longao was, the more uncertain Shan felt. It was hilarious to say that a peak Universal Realm Lord was frightened by a Universal Domain Emperor. No one would believe it if news of this spread. A dragon roar sounded. World Annihilation Berserk Dragon? Looking at the World Annihilation Berserk Dragon that appeared beside Longao, Shan finally understood why Longao could kill Jinsheng. It was because of the World Annihilation Berserk Dragon. He couldn't figure out how Longao managed to subdue the World Annihilation Berserk Dragon. Are you afraid? Seeing that Shan didn't say anything, Longao ordered. In order to end the battle quickly, both the World Annihilation Berserk Dragon and the other Universal Corpse Slave soared into the sky. The two Universal Corpse Slaves began their frenzied attacks. They had to end the battle quickly. They couldn't drag things out. Longao knew that the longer the battle dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. If the three of them realized something was wrong and returned in time, not to mention killing Shan, he might not even be able to leave this place alive. The two Universal Corpse Slaves teaming up was a completely suppressive battle. Even if Shan was a peak Universal Realm Lord, it was still impossible for him to fight against two Universal Corpse Slaves alone. One had to admit that Shan was indeed powerful. If it was someone else, such as Jinsheng, they wouldn't be able to last more than 10 moves. However, Shan's situation was different. Just as the two Starry Skies Corpse Demons were attacking Shan with all their might, Longao had already sensed 3 figures shooting towards them from a distance. Shenteng and the other two had managed to make it back in time. If they did not leave now, then it would be difficult for them to leave later. Chapter 2093. Even now, the 4 of them were still in a daze. Longao's doppelganger was a little too powerful. Even the 3 titled World Kings couldn't suppress it. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. After missing this opportunity, it wouldn't be easy to lure Longao out again. Shenteng was furious. It was all because of his carelessness that Longao escaped. If he hadn't chased after the clone and hid instead, Longao would have died. Are you going to leave just like that? Just as the four of them were about to leave, Longao's voice came from all directions. Longao, come out and fight if you have the ability. Why are you sneaking around? Previously, Longao had hidden in his spatial artifact and didn't dare to come out. Now, he was doing the same. As a titled world king, it was a tragedy that he couldn't do anything to a mere universal domain emperor. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. For against one, I wonder if you're shameless? Shinting and the other two released their astral domains and covered the entire Blackwood Cliff. As long as Longao dared to appear, he wouldn't be able to hide in his spatial artifact. He was furious, like a volcano that was about to erupt. Blackwood Cliff fell into silence. Longao didn't say anything else. Shinting and the other three didn't say anything either. Longao, do you think you can survive after provoking my heaven-devouring empire? Ha ha ha, Shuntung, you think too highly of yourself and your heaven-devouring empire. If you could kill me, I wouldn't be alive now. Longao was speaking the truth. Whether it was the cosmic sect or the heaven-devouring empire, they were both giants to Longao. Under normal circumstances, they could kill Longao in a matter of minutes. But in the end, not only did the cosmic sect fail to kill Longao, but they were also annihilated by Longao. Other than Ancestor Qinquan and Fengxia, everyone else was killed. Cosmic sect was also destroyed. If it hadn't happened, would anyone have believed it? As for the current heaven-devouring empire, it was even stronger than Qinquan sect. No one would believe that Longao could do anything to the heaven-devouring empire. Qin Tong was depressed to the extreme. As long as Longao didn't make a move, they wouldn't be able to kill Longao. If this continued, it wouldn't be good for the heaven-devouring empire. What should he do? Even the three of them were unable to lock onto Longao's spatial artifact. Your Majesty, according to my guess, even though Longao can hide in the spatial artifact, he won't be able to use the spatial artifact to teleport. He nodded. I think so too, but even if Longao can't move, as long as he doesn't appear, we can't do anything to him. The more he thought about it, the more depressed he felt. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Gritting his teeth, Chun Teng sneered and said, "Let's all leave the Blackwood Cliff. From now on, we will try our best to seal the Blackwood Cliff. I don't believe that Longao will always hide in the Space Divine Tool." Shinjua shook his head and said helplessly, Your Majesty, with Longao's talent, as long as he doesn't come out even if he dies, what will we do in 100 years or 1,000 years? Shinhe nodded and said, You're right. No one can guarantee that Longao won't break through in 100 years or even 1,000 years. Once Longao breaks through to the titled World King realm, we'll be in an even more passive position. If it was anyone else, no one would believe that they could break through to the titled World King realm, except for Longao. Longao's situation was very special. No one could guarantee that Longao wouldn't break through to the titled World King realm. It was better to be safe than sorry. What if Longao really broke through to the titled World King realm? How could Shintung not know what the two elders were worried about? Thinking for a moment, he said, The three of us will join forces to seal this place. Even if Longao had 3 heads and 6 arms, he won't be able to leave Blackwood Cliff. No one said anything. This was because the three of them knew that His Majesty had already thought of a foolproof plan. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done this. To be on the safe side, we will draw out all of the power of the starry skies from Blackwood Cliff and fill it with the power of corrosion. Like this, even if Longao doesn't appear, as long as the spatial divine tool is still within Blackwood Cliff, it will be constantly corroded by the power of corrosion. Longao will undoubtedly die. The three of them smiled. To lose Blackwood Cliff in exchange for killing Longao, this was worth it. The 3 titled World King powerhouses joined forces to seal Blackwood Cliff and also drew out all of the power of the starry skies from Blackwood Cliff to replace it with the so-called power of corrosion. Like this, anyone who entered Blackwood Cliff would be completely corroded in just a few minutes. Blackwood Cliff had already turned into a dark cliff. All around, there was a dark gray air current. This was the so-called power of corrosion. Within the Dragon Seal space, Long Fu helplessly said, Master, Chun Tang and the others are too ruthless. Not only did they draw out all of the power of the starry skies from Blackwood Cliff, but they also filled it with the power of corrosion. Even the dragon seal is unable to completely resist this power of corrosion. There shouldn't be a problem for a short period of time, but as time passes, I fear that this corrosion will affect you and me. Longao certainly knew what Long Fu meant. If this was something that could be solved, Long Fu wouldn't have bothered him. It seemed that the power of corrosion within Blackwood Cliff was terrifying. Even the dragon seal wasn't able to completely resist it. Long Fu, what should I do? Master, you cultivate here first. Let me think of a solution and see what we can do. All right. Longao wasn't worried at all. The more this situation was, the more he needed to be calm. Longao sat down on the ground and began to cultivate. The grayish-black air current flowed all over the Blackwood Cliff, constantly eroding everything in the Blackwood Cliff. The flowers, plants, and trees were all completely eroded. Chen Tong was very confident in his seal and the power of corrosion. Longao could last for a month, but could he last for a year, 10 years, or even 100 years? Longao's death was certain. Because of this, Chen Tong wasn't prepared to pay attention to Blackwood Cliff. He would wait for the seal to be opened a year later. At that time, he would know whether Longao was still alive or not. Chen Tong didn't deliberately hide the fact that Longao was trapped in Blackwood Cliff. The news spread across the entire devouring sky realm. No one was surprised. It would be strange if Longao could really shake the devouring sky empire. Longao's death was certain. In the courtyard, Heifeng and Jimei had also received the news. Both of them were shocked. Heifeng said solemnly, Jimei, Brother Long has been sealed in Blackwood Cliff by Cheng. What should we do? I don't care what you think. I will definitely go and save Brother Long. I must succeed. Chapter 2094. Spray of Plum Blossom didn't even hesitate. Heifeng's face was solemn. He said helplessly, Spray of Plum Blossom, I know what you mean. Do you think I'm afraid of death? Spray of Plum Blossom didn't say anything because he felt uncomfortable. He didn't expect Heifeng to ask him if he should help. Spray of Plum Blossom, what do you think are our chances of saving Brother Long if we rush to the heaven-devouring empire? Almost zero. He spoke the truth. Spray of Plum Blossom knew the strength of the heaven-devouring empire. As the ruler of tens of thousands of worlds, the heaven-devouring empire's strength was self-evident. Just the 3 titled world kings alone were enough to sweep through tens of thousands of worlds. Spray of Plum Blossom knew that if the 2 of them forced their way into the heaven-devouring empire, they would probably die there. Heifeng knew that Spray of Plum Blossom had thought it through. Since that was the case, there was no need for him to continue. Spray of Plum Blossom, if we want to save Brother Long, we can only use our wits and not brute force. You're right. It seems like we have to think about it carefully. Spray of Plum Blossom and Heifeng were worried about Longao's safety. Blackwood Cliff. The Blackwood Cliff was still covered in a gray fog. The corrosive force was like a tornado that swept across the entire cliff. Longao was still hiding in the dragon seal space. As long as the seal of the Blackwood Cliff wasn't broken, he would definitely be corroded by the corrosive force once he left the dragon seal space. Even Long Fu was wary of the dragon seal space. It was obvious what the situation outside was like. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Longao opened his eyes and stood up. Long Fu, have you thought of a way? Yes, Master. I have already thought of a way to leave the Blackwood Cliff. He was overjoyed. Long Fu's method was simple. He would borrow the power of the dragon seal to give Spray of Plum Blossom a taste of his own medicine. The dragon mark released its power and started to slowly fuse with the corrosive power, and it started to counterattack. Gradually, the corrosive power started to disappear. Under normal circumstances, the power of the universe in the Blackwood Cliff had been sucked dry. Even if the corrosive force disappeared, there wouldn't be any more power unless the seal was broken. However, Long Fu had a solution. Since entering the vast starry sky, Long Fu had been constantly devouring the power of the starry sky. It was more than enough for him to release the power of the starry sky. Blackwood Cliff. Longao gazed at the endless void in front of him. No one knew what he was thinking. Although the corrosive force was temporarily dispelled, it was unable to break the seal. Longao was very clear that with 3 titled world kings joining forces to seal him, even Long Fu wouldn't be able to break the seal, much less him. He definitely wouldn't be able to leave Blackwood Cliff. If he stayed here to cultivate, Longao was confident that he could become a Starry Sky Realm Lord in at most 100 years. But could he really do that? Definitely not. If it was purely for cultivation, there was no need for him to enter the vast starry sky. He could have just stayed in the Tianwu continent. The Sky Martial continent was much safer than the vast universe. The most important thing for this trip into the vast starry sky was to find the whereabouts of Bai Ling and Xiling. Secondly, he had to find the Luan clan and investigate the mystery of his birth. Therefore, no matter what, he couldn't stay in Blackwood Cliff. He had to find a way to leave as soon as possible. Master, Chen Tang, and the other 2 are titled World Kings. Their combined strength is too strong. With Long Ying's current situation, it's impossible for him to break the seal. Longao already knew about this. He was helpless. Long Fu, is there no way at all? There is. Long Ying can forcefully break the seal. If that's the case, Long Ying and I will fall into an endless slumber. Forget it. Long Ao definitely wouldn't let Long Ying take the risk and fall into an endless slumber. The price was too great. He couldn't bear it. What should he do? Long Ao came to the entrance of Blackwood Cliff. There were 3 titled world kings joining forces to seal this place. He definitely couldn't just sit there and wait for death. Long Ao took out the Samsara sword. With a flip of his hand, he used his strongest sword. The terrifying Samsara sword chi was like lightning, ruthlessly slashing at the seal. Without a doubt, the Samsara sword chi was unable to break the seal of the astral domain. He opened the Samsara heavenly eye, but still couldn't break the seal. He tried everything he could think of, but still couldn't succeed. Long Ao stared at the seal in front of him. Was he really going to be sealed here until he broke through to the Starry Sky World King realm? He had to risk it. Long Ao didn't want to stay here for even a moment. After thinking about it, he prepared to use the so-called shattering starry sky. However, he knew that he couldn't do it with his own strength unless he borrowed Long Fu's strength. Master, if you force it, I'm afraid you'll suffer a backlash. I've already thought about it. You can transfer your strength to the 2 Starry Sky Corp slaves. Then, I'll borrow their strength to break the seal. There shouldn't be much of a problem. Long Fu also knew the seriousness of the matter. He didn't say anything more. He immediately mobilized all the strength of Long Ying and crazily poured it into the 2 Starry Sky Corp slaves. Success or failure depended on this move. Long Ao directly used the shattering starry sky. He used it 20 times in a row. In the next second, cracks in the starry sky began to appear where the seal was. They crazily swallowed the seal, and in less than a few minutes, the seal laid down by the 3 titled world kings was completely swallowed up by the cracks in the starry sky. Long Ao was overjoyed when the seal was broken. In truth, Long Ao didn't know that the reason he was able to break the seal this time was because of luck. If it were some other seal-breaking Dao, not to mention him, even a Starry Sky World King wouldn't be able to break the seal. No matter what, the seal laid down by 3 titled world kings was simply too powerful. The nemesis of the seal was the cracks in the starry sky, also known as the shattering starry sky. The cracks in the starry sky were known as the nemesis of all cultivators in the starry sky. No matter who it was, they could be swallowed by the cracks in the starry sky, including the so-called seal. Moreover, Long Ao had borrowed the strength of Long Ying and the 2 Starry Sky Corp slaves. No matter what was said, Long Ao had still managed to break through the joint seal of 3 titled world kings. If this matter were to spread out, Long Ao would definitely be able to shake the entire universe. This was because such a matter was completely unprecedented and would never be repeated in the future. If this matter was spread out, it was still unknown whether people would believe it. After leaving Blackwood Cliff, Long Ao didn't immediately leave the Heaven-Devouring Empire. Instead, he snuck into the Heaven-Devouring Empire. Since you're heartless, don't blame me for being unjust. Long Ao didn't hold back this time. Since he was angry at the Heaven-Devouring Empire, he immediately started to kill the people of the heaven-devouring empire. Longao placed all the corpses neatly outside the heaven-devouring empire and quickly left. By the time the heaven-devouring empire reacted, Longao had already disappeared without a trace. Chapter 2095. Looking at the corpse, Chun Tung's first reaction wasn't anger, but disbelief. Without any hesitation, he rushed to Blackwood Cliff. Blackwood Cliff. The corrosive energy had disappeared, and Blackwood Cliff was filled with the power of the stars. Not only that, the seal that the three of them had set up had been broken. Without a doubt, the three of them knew who had done it. Was Longao really that powerful? Your Majesty, how did Longao do it? How did he do it? I also want to know how Longao did it. This was a seal set up by 3 titled world kings. Not to mention a mere Starry Sky Domain Emperor. Even a Starry Sky Realm King wouldn't be able to break the seal. Anger. At this moment, killing intent surged out of Chun Tung's body. To him, this was a humiliation. There was no wall in the world that didn't have a crack. Unknowingly, the news of Longao breaking the seal and leaving Blackwood Cliff and killing dozens of people spread across the entire heaven-devouring plain. Everyone's first reaction was disbelief. Was this possible? It was almost impossible. How could Longao break the seal set up by 3 titled world kings? At first, they didn't believe it, but slowly, it was confirmed. Everyone still found it hard to believe. They didn't know how Longao did it. Everyone was certain that Longao's strength wasn't enough to shake the heaven-devouring empire. Otherwise, Longao wouldn't have been sealed in Blackwood Cliff. The more it was so, the more incredulous it was. Just as Ijime and Haifeng were about to save Longao, they were overjoyed when they heard that Longao had escaped. They also heaved a sigh of relief. It would be a lie to say that they weren't afraid. No matter what, the heaven-devouring empire was strong. If they went, they would die without a doubt. They were like moths to a flame. Even though they knew that they were going to die, they didn't hesitate. This was what friends were like. They wouldn't hesitate to go through fire and water for their friends. Before Longao returned to his courtyard, the heaven-devouring empire sent him a message. The empire had captured a traitor who colluded with Longao. Yi, the Starry Sky Domain Lord, had decent talent and strength. So it was a traitor. No matter where they were, they despised traitors. While they despised Yi, they were also wondering how the devouring Sky Empire would treat this traitor. There was no doubt that no matter how they tortured him in the beginning, there would only be one result in the end, and that was death. In the courtyard, seeing that Longao had returned unscathed, both Plum Blossom and Haifeng were pleasantly surprised. While they were pleasantly surprised, the two of them were also deeply moved. What Brother Long has done is absolutely unprecedented and will never be replicated in the future. Brother Long, it's good to see that you're fine. The two of them suddenly realized that something was wrong. Ever since they returned, Longao's expression had been very solemn, as if he had something on his mind. What was going on? Could something have happened? Before the two of them could ask, Longao said, I believe you've already received the news that the heaven-devouring empire has captured a traitor named Yi Zi. Yi Zi is my friend. That's right. He had already treated Yi as a friend. Even though he didn't know how his relationship with Yi had been exposed, he knew that it was because of him that Yi had fallen under the control of the heaven-devouring empire. If he didn't make a move, Yi Zi would have died. Brother Long, don't tell me that you're going to enter the heaven-devouring empire to save this person? The two of them knew Longao's character too well. However, the current situation was too special. They could imagine what would happen if Longao stepped into the heaven-devouring empire. He would definitely die. Knowing that there was a tiger in the mountain, he still wanted to go there? Longao suddenly laughed. Yi Zi is my friend. If the two of you are in danger, I will save you without hesitation. Haifeng and Plum Blossom laughed when they heard that. They didn't continue trying to persuade Longao because they knew that no one could stop him. Brother Long, we'll go with you. We can take care of each other. Longao shook his head. How could he let the two of them take such a risk? If it was any other place or person, he might be able to bring the two of them along. However, he couldn't do that now. With the strength of the heaven-devouring empire and the dragon seal space, as long as he was careful, it wouldn't be easy for Shanteng and the others to kill him. However, the two of them were in completely different situations. If they followed him to the heaven-devouring empire, it was obvious what would happen. I'm confident that I can save Yi Zi. The two of you wait for me here. Haifeng and Plum Blossom looked at each other and saw a trace of helplessness in each other's eyes. The two of them knew why Longao didn't want them to go to the heaven-devouring empire. Longao didn't go to the heaven-devouring empire immediately. He wasn't a fool and knew what the heaven-devouring empire was thinking. Under normal circumstances, the heaven-devouring empire would have killed the traitor immediately after capturing him. How would they have the time to spread the news? It wasn't just the heaven-devouring empire. However, what about the heaven-devouring empire? Not only did they not kill Yi Zi, they even spread the news on purpose. What was the meaning of this? The only explanation was that the heaven-devouring empire wanted to use Yi Zi as bait to lure him to the heaven-devouring empire. Longao smiled helplessly. He had used old ancestor Qian Kuan as bait from the start. Who would have thought that the heaven-devouring empire would do the same thing again in less than a day? They were truly shameless. Many people had already guessed the heaven-devouring empire's intentions. However, in this vast universe where the strong were respected, no one would look down on them. Instead, they would take it for granted. If the heaven-devouring empire was in Longao's place, the situation would be different. Heaven-devouring empire. At the peak of the sky-devouring peak, there was a huge square. It was extremely big and could hold at least a few 100,000 people. But now, there were only a few people in the huge square. Moreover, there was a bamboo pole erected in the square. It was about 10 meters long, and at the top of the bamboo pole, there was a person tied up. A person who looked half dead. The person tied to the pole was none other than Yi Zi. In front of the heaven-devouring palace. Your Majesty, after what happened last time, I'm afraid that Longao won't dare to come. Would Longao dare to come? Xinjua and Shun, he didn't have the slightest bit of confidence. After all, Longao was almost killed by the three of them previously. Unless Longao was crazy, he wouldn't dare to come. Even Shuntung wasn't sure if Longao would come. If it was anyone else, they wouldn't dare to come. However, the same couldn't be said for Longao. Chapter 2096. Shintong couldn't wait to kill Longao. As for the treasures on Longao's body, they weren't as important as killing Longao. If Longao didn't die, the Empire's reputation wouldn't be guaranteed. Until now, the three of them still couldn't be sure of the relationship between Longao and Yi Zi. If Yi Zi was just an ordinary friend, would Longao still come? In the face of life, everything else was nonsense. They couldn't be sure. The three of them definitely hoped that Longao would come. However, with the previous experience, the three of them were having a hard time this time. If they fought head-on, they wouldn't be afraid of Longao. However, the problem was that Longao didn't fight them head-on. Instead, he kept dodging their attacks. In addition to the secrets on Longao, even if the three of them worked together, they wouldn't be able to trap Longao. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. Was Longao really just a Starry Sky Domain King? A Starry Sky Domain King could do something that even a Starry Sky Realm King couldn't do. It wasn't just the heaven-devouring empire. Everyone was looking forward to seeing if Longao would go to the heaven-devouring empire. Would he? Or wouldn't he? Longao's counterattacks had piqued everyone's curiosity. Even so, no one believed that Longao could shake the heaven-devouring empire. It was too unrealistic. However, for Longao to be able to do this, he had already swept through everyone. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. Gradually, everyone, including Shantong, accepted the fact that Longao didn't go to the heaven-devouring empire. However, no one despised or mocked him. If it was someone else, would they dare to do so? Of course not. No one wasn't afraid of death, especially when facing the powerful heaven-devouring empire. If Longao really went to the heaven-devouring empire, he would be a fool. The sun was scorching hot. The leaf that was tied to the bamboo pole only had half a breath left and could die at any time. Now, Yi was like an ordinary person because Shen Tong had sealed his strength. How could an ordinary person withstand dozens of days of torture? Yi Zi, are you all right? Huh. He had been tortured beyond recognition. Yi thought that he had misheard. Was he hallucinating? Yi Zi knew that Senior Longao wouldn't come to the heaven-devouring empire for him. He didn't hate Senior Longao because that was the reality. After all, his relationship with Senior Longao wasn't that good. It was all his own fault. If he hadn't told his good friend about this, he wouldn't have fallen to such a state. He couldn't blame anyone else. Yi had already decided to die. On the huge square, there were only a few people cleaning up. As for Chantang and the others, they were not there. The reason was simple. After waiting for dozens of days, everyone believed that Longao would definitely not come. As for Ye's life and death, would Chantang and the others care about it? Not to mention the Starry Sky Domain Lord. Even the Starry Sky Sector Lord would be killed without a doubt. The heaven-devouring empire would never allow such a thing to happen. Yi Zi, are you all right? The voice came again. Seems like I'm not far from death. Yi Zi sighed deeply and raised his head helplessly. Looking at the huge sun shining on him, he was prepared to die at any moment. F***CK. Did you hear my voice or not? After confirming that he hadn't heard wrongly, Yi Zi's face was filled with joy and disbelief. He couldn't believe that Senior Longao was really here. Without a doubt, the reason why Senior Longao came this time was definitely to save him. Was this true? He would be lying if he said that he wasn't moved. Yi was very clear about his identity and the identity of Senior Longao. He had never thought that he would be friends with Senior Longao. Even more so, he didn't think that Senior Longao would take the risk to enter the heaven-devouring empire for him. Senior Longao, you have to be careful. Yi Zi looked around, but he still couldn't find Senior Longao. He didn't know how Longao did it. Yi, you have to hang in there. I can't save you right now. I know. Yi Zi knew how serious the situation was. This was the headquarters of the heaven-devouring empire. He didn't know where Shintong and the others were. If he let his guard down, he would be doomed. Longao's voice disappeared completely. Longao realized that his luck was too good. It was so good that he didn't know what to do. The dragon seal, which had been unable to shift its position all this time, was suddenly able to shift its position 10 days ago. What did this mean? This was also why Longao was delayed for 10 days. As for why the dragon seal could suddenly change its position, it was because of Longao's help. Otherwise, who knew how long it would take for the dragon seal to change its position? With the dragon seal's help, Longao no longer had any worries. Since the dragon seal could change its position, there was no doubt that Longao could do anything he wanted in the vast universe. Even a titled world king wouldn't be able to do anything to him. This was the strength of the dragon seal. According to Long Fu, the dragon seal hadn't even recovered a tenth of its original strength. It was hard to imagine how strong the dragon seal would be at its peak. The reason why Longao didn't immediately save Yi was because he could clearly feel that the surroundings were covered by the domain of the astral world. If he took action, what if he was killed? He didn't need to worry at all. With the help of the dragon seal, he could leave at any time. Only Yi didn't. This was because he was well aware of just how strong a titled world king was. Perhaps he wouldn't even need a second to kill Yi. Longao thought of a perfect plan. In the next second, the reincarnation doppelganger suddenly descended. All of its power was crazily suppressing the reincarnation doppelganger. However, with the reincarnation doppelganger's physical defense, would it be affected? The opportunity had come. This was the effect Longao wanted. Just as everyone was suppressing the Samsara avatar, Longao immediately appeared in front of the bamboo pole. In a short second, he rescued Yi from the pole and entered the dragon seal space. Chintong and the others couldn't determine whether the Samsara avatar was the real Longao or not. If they could be sure, they wouldn't have been tricked so many times. It was because of this that they were shocked by the fact that Longao had a Samsara avatar. Even if someone else had a Samsara avatar, it was impossible for them to have the exact same aura. Moreover, their defensive strength was so strong that even a titled world king wouldn't be able to kill them. Chintong and the others instantly appeared. Seeing that Yi had disappeared from the bamboo pole and Longao had appeared, they knew that they had been tricked by Longao again. They could only watch helplessly as Yi rescued Yi from under their noses. The heaven-devouring empire's face had been completely lost. Chapter 2097. There was no doubt about it. Longao had come to the heaven-devouring empire to save Yi. As for his grudge with the heaven-devouring empire, he would deal with it in the future. After saving Yi, Longao recalled his reincarnation avatar and left. The dragon seal was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it had disappeared without a trace. Shinteng and the other two couldn't catch up to it even if they wanted to. Shinteng's face was as ugly as it could be. This was the greatest humiliation in the history of the heaven-devouring empire. Your Majesty, what should we do now? Seal off the news. Just say that Yi has been executed. Shen He and Xinjue knew what Shinteng meant. If the news were to spread, the consequences would be unimaginable. But could they keep the news a secret? The heaven-devouring empire might have sealed off the news, but Longao didn't. No one knew if it was intentional or not, but Longao had spread the news that he had killed Yi the moment he left the heaven-devouring empire. It had shaken the entire heaven-devouring realm. On one hand, there was no news, but on the other hand, there was a solemn vow that he had saved Yi. Who was telling the truth? Everyone believed in the heaven-devouring empire. After all, it was impossible for Longao to save Yi alone. No matter what, the difference in strength between Longao and the heaven-devouring empire was too great. The heaven-devouring empire remained silent. Silence meant admission? Slowly, everyone started to believe that Longao had saved Yi from the heaven-devouring empire. Even so, there were still many who refused to believe it. In the courtyard, Big Brother Heifeng, how are Ye's injuries? He's fine now. However, I'm afraid his cultivation will drop to grade 6 Starry Sky realm after he recovers. It was just that his realm had decreased. Longao was relieved. It was fine as long as he didn't die. As for his cultivation, Longao had already decided to give Yi a Starry Sky Domain Emperor Godhead after he recovered from his injuries. In that case, with Ye's talent, he believed that he would be able to recover to the Starry Sky Domain Emperor realm very quickly. Senior Longao, I don't want to leave. I want to stay and help you. Longao's original plan was to wait for Ye's injuries to heal. However, under such circumstances, it was not safe for Yi to stay by his side. The only way was to leave the devouring sky plane as soon as possible. Recuperate first. Remember, after leaving the devouring sky plane, find a low-level plane to hide in. Yi sighed deeply in his heart. He was very clearly aware that if he were to forcefully stay behind with his strength, then not only would he be unable to help Senior Longao, he might even become a burden to Senior Longao. With no other choice, you could only choose to leave. This is a universal domain Emperor's Godhead. Take it first. Thank you, Senior. Yi knew very well what the Space Domain Emperor's Godhead meant to him. After this incident, his cultivation dropped from a Starry Sky Domain Lord to a Grade 6 Starry Sky Cultivator. Moreover, the Starry Sky Domain Emperor's Godhead he had devoured previously was also lost. Heifeng and Yi Mei personally escorted Yi out. Since he was alone, Longao couldn't be at ease. The news that Longao had single-handedly rescued Yi from the heaven-devouring empire had been confirmed. Everyone was shocked when they heard the news. No one knew how Longao had done it. Could it be that the people in the heaven-devouring empire were useless? The heaven-devouring empire was filled with experts. Not to mention other Starry Sky cultivators, there were even more titled world kings. As for Longao, he was only a Starry Sky Domain Emperor. Longao had humiliated the heaven-devouring empire time and time again, but the heaven-devouring empire didn't have the slightest ability to retaliate. It was a huge joke. The heaven-devouring empire's reputation instantly hit rock bottom. In this situation, Shantang was also helpless. As the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire, he couldn't escape the blame for tarnishing the empire's reputation. While Shantang blamed himself, he was also furious. Longao was clearly provoking the empire, provoking him. If he didn't kill Longao, where would his reputation go? Where would the empire's reputation go? Shentang's anger made everyone in the heaven-devouring realm feel threatened. No one knew if the heaven-devouring empire's anger would affect them. Shentang personally ordered that anyone who had news of Longao would be heavily rewarded. When there was a reward, there would definitely be someone willing to do it. Countless people began to search for Longao. Not only that, but the heaven-devouring empire also sent out countless experts, including 10 Starry Sky Realm Kings. What kind of concept was this? With such a powerful force, it was more than enough to destroy the entire Starry Sky Realm, let alone a single person. A total of 10 Starry Sky Realm Kings was a little too powerful. Everyone knew that the heaven-devouring empire was truly angered this time. Otherwise, they wouldn't have mobilized 10 Starry Sky Realm Kings. Starry Sky Realm Kings were the foundation of the heaven-devouring empire. Losing one was equivalent to losing a Starry Sky Realm King. Normally, it was difficult for the heaven-devouring empire to casually mobilize a Starry Sky Realm King. This battle, regardless of whether Longao won or lost, it was already enough. Not to mention a single person. Even the other Starry Sky Realms wouldn't be able to force the heaven-devouring empire to such a state. The heaven-devouring realm began to search for Longao. The heaven-devouring empire conducted a thorough search. However, the heaven-devouring realm was different from other realms. Among the high-grade realms, the heaven-devouring realm was one of the strongest. As for the size of the realm, one could imagine how big it was. It could be said that the heaven-devouring realm was so big that even 1,000 universe realms wouldn't be able to withstand it. One could imagine how big the heaven-devouring realm was. Even if this was the headquarters of the heaven-devouring empire, it wouldn't be easy to find a single person. Moreover, Longao was deliberately hiding. The speed of the search was extremely slow. After all, manpower was limited. As for the other small clans and sects, although they were helping the heaven-devouring empire to search for Longao's whereabouts, they didn't do anything. Although the temptation was great, their lives were more important. Longao was able to kill Jin Sheng and escape from the hands of a titled World King twice. This was enough to prove that Longao wasn't simple. If even the Starry Sky Realm King wasn't a match for Longao, then what about the others? There was no doubt about it. No one would think that their lives were too long. However, there were still those who were willing to sacrifice their lives for the sake of money. They hoped to be rewarded by the heaven-devouring empire and soar into the sky like a carp leaping over the dragon gate. Longao and the other two had already changed their location several times. After disguising themselves, the three of them weren't worried at all. On a bustling street, the three of them bought a courtyard to settle down. The heaven-devouring empire definitely wouldn't have thought that Longao would be so daring. Chapter 2098. Countless bustling streets. Brother Long. It seems like the heaven-devouring empire is truly enraged this time. They've sealed off the entire area to search for you. He disagreed. Longao said indifferently, Chuntung got angry every time, but I didn't see him do anything big. It won't be easy for him to find us. Black Wind and Spray of Plum Blossom nodded in agreement. Although the heaven-devouring empire was powerful, it was not omnipotent. The heaven-devouring plain was so large that it was like looking for a needle in a haystack to find a single person in such a short time. Brother Long, what should we do next? Black Wind and Spray of Plum Blossom were still worried. As long as they didn't leave the devouring sky plane, their safety couldn't be guaranteed. The two of them knew Longao's character very well. Since things had already reached this point, how could Longao choose to give up so easily? If it was anyone else, would they dare to go against the heaven-devouring empire? Except for Longao, a lunatic who was not afraid of anything. I'll take it one step at a time. With my current strength, it's impossible for me to shake the heaven-devouring empire. However, I believe that my efforts will succeed. It was easier said than done for water to penetrate a stone. The two of them looked at each other and saw deep helplessness and worry in each other's eyes. There were many experts in the heaven-devouring empire. There were at least 100 Starry Sky Realm Kings and at least 15 Starry Sky Realm Kings, not including the 3 titled World Kings. Just the thought of such terrifying strength was terrifying. You two don't have to worry. After killing Jin Shang, I have a Cosmos Overlord Godhead with me. Since I wasn't able to successfully refine it, I haven't taken it out yet. You two can discuss it and see who will be the one to devour it. Huh. After hearing Longao's words, both Izzet Plum and Haifeng were stunned. A starry sky Realmlord spark was different from other things. Even in the vast universe, it was an extremely valuable item. The two shook their heads and said in unison, "Brother Long, we cannot accept your starry sky godhead. The cosmic sovereign spark was truly a bit too valuable. If it were the starry sky territory ancestors' godhead, they might be able to accept it. However, their cultivation had already broken through to the starry sky territory ancestors' godhead, so it wouldn't be of much use to them. As for the starry sky realm master godhead, he absolutely could not accept it." Longao smiled. "I believe the two of you are aware of my situation. I will never devour a starry sky godhead. If the two of you really want to help me, you have to improve your strength as quickly as possible." Both of them had reached a bottleneck in their cultivation bases, especially after devouring the godhood of the starry sky. It was almost impossible for them to advance any further. The only way was to continue devouring godhoods. "Brother Long, forget it. It seems that you all are unwilling to help me. Since that's the case, I'll find someone else to devour the starry sky godhead." Wait, he couldn't let others take advantage of him. It was unrealistic to say that he did not want to devour the starry sky realm master god's divine spark. Both of them were well aware of what the starry sky world overlord godhead represented. As long as the two of them, no matter which one of them devoured the universal overlord godhead, they would be able to break through to the universal overlord realm in an extremely short period of time. The gap between the territory ancestor realm and the territory master of starry sky was too big. It was like an uncrossable gap. How about the two of us try to sense this astral boundary overlord godhead? This was the fairest thing to do. Looking at the starry sky world overlord godhead in their hands, both of them released their own energy and began to comprehend the starry sky world overlord godhead. Both of them had already decided that the starry sky world overlord godhead would belong to whoever sensed it first. "Blackwind, you are so lucky." Ijime smiled without a trace of resentment. As for envy, it was impossible. Haifeng didn't hesitate because the sooner he broke through to the universal realm lord level, the sooner he could help Longao. Blackwind immediately devoured the starry sky realm master god spark, then found a secluded place to begin cultivating. "Ijime, I'll help you find the cosmic realm master godhead as soon as possible." Nothing was said. Everything was conveyed in silence. As Blackwind devoured the godhood, Plum Blossom stood guard. After all, it was best not to disturb him at a time like this. Longao had already disguised himself. Even if he walked on the streets, no one would be able to recognize him. After the Heaven-Devouring Empire issued the kill order, many people believed that Longao wouldn't dare to stay any longer. If there were no accidents, he should have left the Heaven-Devouring realm. No matter how arrogant Longao was, it was impossible for him to shake the entire Heaven-Devouring Empire by himself. Right now, the Heaven-Devouring Empire was a joke, a huge joke. For countless years, since the establishment of the Heaven-Devouring Empire, such a thing had never happened before. To the Heaven-Devouring Empire, it was a great humiliation. In the area where Longao was located, the strongest force was the Heavenine sect. The master of the Heavenine sect, Hao Chun, was also a powerful universe territory ancestor. In the main hall, the master of the Heavenine sect, Hao Chun, and the Grand Elder, Hao Feng, sat quietly in the main hall. "Master, since Longao dares to provoke the Heaven-Devouring Empire, he's definitely not weak. Even if the rumors are true and Longao is just a universe territory emperor, we shouldn't act rashly. If we fail to capture Longao, we'll go for wool and come home shorn." Hao Feng was very depressed. He really could not figure out why the sect master would make a move to deal with Longao for no reason. Once a madman who was not afraid of anything was angered by Longao, wouldn't it be causing trouble for his own sect? Hao Chen's intention was simple. He wanted to suck up to the heaven-devouring empire. Even if there were two universe territory ancestors in the heaven-devouring realm, they were nothing in the heaven-devouring realm. Hao Chun was taking a gamble. If he won, he would be able to climb up the heaven-devouring empire's tree. At that time, the heaven music sect would be able to rise to a higher level. Even becoming a subsidiary of the heaven-devouring empire would be a good thing. This is an opportunity for the heaven music sect. How could Hao Feng not know the meaning of the sovereign? He sighed deeply again. Although this matter was indeed an opportunity for the sovereign, but opportunity and danger coexisted. Hao Feng always had a bad premonition in his heart. If he was targeted by Longao, things would be troublesome. What should he do? Hao Chen seemed to be able to guess what the Great Elder was worried about. He smiled and said, "Great Elder, you worry too much. Longao is not very strong. He just has a treasure and a secret skill. As long as we can activate the heavenly sound spell and trap him." Hao Feng was shocked. "Master, we can't use the heaven music sect casually. If we destroy it, the consequences will be unimaginable." Hao Feng didn't expect the master to use the heaven music array to deal with Longao. Was he crazy? Chapter 2099. Just as the both of them were discussing how they should deal with Longao, "Both of you, there's no need to go through so much trouble." Following his words, Longao's figure descended. Ever since the dragon seal could change its position at will, Longao could go anywhere he wanted in the vast universe. Looking at this figure descending from the skies, be it Hao Chun or Hao Feng, both of their faces changed into one of disbelief. "You're Longao?" Both of them were no fools. Naturally, they could guess that this young man who had descended was the person they were discussing how to deal with. Longao, the legendary lunatic. Not only did he provoke Chinkuan's sect, he even dared to disregard the heaven-devouring empire. If he were a titled world king, then so be it. But, according to the rumors, Longao was only a starry sky region king. What sort of a concept was that? "Didn't you guys say that you wanted to deal with me?" Longao smiled faintly. Starry sky region king? The both of them could clearly sense that this young man before them was definitely a starry sky region king. Seemed like the rumors were true. That was indeed the case. They could not figure out how Longao could go against the heaven-devouring empire with his current strength. How in the world did Longao do it? They could not figure it out. They could not figure it out at all. "Longao, you must have misunderstood. How could we possibly go against you? This is a joke." Hao Feng was clear of Longao's methods. This was a lunatic who did not even care about the heaven-devouring empire, who could even kill Jin Sheng. Why would he care about a sect? If Longao were to set his sights on the sect, it would be over for the sect. As the Grand Elder of Heaven Cord sect, Hao Feng would definitely put the sect's interests first no matter what he did. As for Hao Chen, he laughed coldly. In order to suck up to the heaven-devouring empire, he could not care less about anything else. He knew that as long as he could kill Longao successfully, both he and the sect would rise in power. "Longao, an honest man does not resort to underhanded means. You didn't hear wrongly earlier on. I want to deal with you. What can you do about it?" "Ha ha ha." He laughed crazily. Longao was full of praise and said, "I like your character very much. Hao Chen, I want to ask you for a favor. How about it?" Asking for his help? Hao Chen simply wanted to laugh out loud, but in this situation, he really couldn't laugh out loud. "Tell me about it." Hao Chen and the other two were also very curious. They didn't know what Longao wanted from them at this time. Under normal circumstances, anyone who had offended the heaven-devouring empire would have done everything they could to leave the heaven-devouring plane. However, Longao was the only one who didn't leave. It was unbelievable. "I want to lure Shantang here." Shantang was a familiar name to both of them. Not just the people of Heaven Cord sect, but even the entire heaven-devouring empire and the vast universe would not be unfamiliar with this name. Not only was Qian Tong a titled world king, but he was also the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire. With a stomp of his foot, tens of thousands of worlds would tremble. Why did Longao lure Chantang and the others here? Did this man want to deal with Chantang and the others? What a reckless fool. Hao Chun and Hao Feng laughed out in disdain. They had seen arrogant people before, but this was the first time they had seen someone as arrogant as this. Longao, I would like to ask, what are your intentions in luring His Majesty here? I want to kill Chanteng and the others. Big words. The two of them would definitely not believe this. Even a titled world king would not dare to say something like this, let alone Longao. If Longao had the strength to deal with Chanteng, why would he wait until now? Why would he need their help? At the end of the day, Longao did not have the strength to kill Chanteng. Do you have the qualifications? You don't have to judge if I have the qualifications or not. As long as you help me, I will remember this favor. Looking at how Longao did not seem to be joking, the two of them retracted their disdain. If it were anyone else, they would definitely not have believed him. Except for Longao. Longao fought against the heaven-devouring empire. Not only did he not die, but he also damaged the reputation of the heaven-devouring empire and killed Jin Sheng. Would this happen in the past? What if I don't agree? In the next second, a terrifying astral domain was released, suppressing the two of them. World Annihilation Madragon? The two of them exclaimed. They had never imagined that Longao would have a World Annihilation Madragon by his side. They knew very well what a World Annihilation Madragon represented. At this moment, the two of them finally understood why Longao was able to kill Jin Sheng. With Longao's strength alone, it was impossible for him to do so. However, with the help of the World Annihilation Madragon, the situation was completely different. The World Annihilation Madragon was more than enough to kill Jin Sheng. The two of them retreated continuously, their faces fearful. Even though they were both Starry Sky Territory ancestors, they might not be able to kill the World Annihilation Madragon even if they joined hands. Were they going to die here? Hao Chun, who was arrogant a moment ago, was now like a mouse that had seen a cat. He only hoped that this murderous god would leave the sect as soon as possible. As for killing Longao, Hao Chun didn't dare to think about it anymore. As long as Longao didn't kill them, it would be fine. Master Hao, are you afraid? Humans were like this. They were a little despicable. A moment ago, Hao Chun was so arrogant as if he could kill him. However, when he saw the World Annihilation Madragon, he acted like a mouse. This kind of person was despicable and shameless. Longao didn't take action because he had come to the Heaven Music sect to lure Chanteng and the others here. If Hao Chun died, what should he do? Longao, there is no grudge between us. There is no need to kill me. How about you leave now? I will keep my mouth shut about what happened today. I promise I won't say a word. What do you think? Although he didn't say it out loud, Hao Chun was indeed afraid. Longao smiled. His smile was very strange. His smile made Hao Chun worried and scared. Hao Chun, I've already said that I'm here to ask for your help. I have no other intentions. You're right. There's no enmity between us, so I don't have to make things difficult for you. I hope you can help me with this. As long as Chanteng and the others come, I can promise you that I won't do anything to the Heaven Music sect. What should he do? It was true that one could survive a disaster from heaven, but one couldn't survive a disaster from oneself. At this moment, Hao Feng suddenly said, Sir Longao, we promise you. However, we also have a condition. There is no problem in luring Chanteng and the others here. However, you have to swear a blood oath that you will not attack anyone from the Heaven Music sect from now on, even if you kill with a borrowed knife. What do you think? What did it mean to kill with a borrowed knife? There were several explanations for this. It depended on how the person looked at it. Longao didn't hesitate and immediately swore a blood oath. Chapter 2100. Since Longao was already in such a state, how could the two of them refuse? Left with no choice, the two of them could only agree. 2 hours later, a shocking piece of news came from the Heaven Cord sect. Longao was trapped in the Heaven Cord sect. Everyone was shocked when they heard the news. Many people couldn't figure out how the Heaven Cord sect did it when the Heaven-devouring empire couldn't kill Longao. Heaven-devouring empire. In a majestic hall, Chanteng looked at the two elders in front of him and said, The Heaven Cord sect has sent news that Longao is trapped in the Heaven Cord formation. This time, we must kill him in one strike. Other than the three of us, 10 Starry Sky Realm Kings and 30 Starry Sky Realm Lords will be mobilized. Both Xinhe and Xinzhua were shocked when they heard Shantang's words. Other than the 3 titled Realm Kings, 10 Starry Sky Realm Kings and 30 Starry Sky Realm Lords would be mobilized. Your Majesty, why don't the 3 of us, 10 Starry Sky Realm Kings and 30 Starry Sky Realm Lords, stay behind to guard the Empire? Chinting thought about it. All right, let's go immediately. 3 titled Realm Kings and 10 Starry Sky Realm Kings. The 13 of them had shaken the entire heaven-devouring plain. It seemed like Qintang was really angry this time. The 13 of them headed to the Heaven Cord sect. Chunting never thought that the Heaven Cord sect would lie to him. Even if the Heaven Cord sect had 2 Starry Sky Realm ancestors, it wasn't on the same level as the heaven-devouring empire. Heaven Cord sect. All the core disciples had been relocated by the 2 of them. As for Hao Qian and Hao Feng, they had chosen to leave as well. The 2 of them knew that after this incident, whether it was the heaven-devouring empire or Longao's death, the Heaven Cord sect would be in trouble. As for the 2 of them, there was no doubt that they would die. The current Heaven Cord sect could be considered an empty shell. In the 9 heavens, the 13 Starry Sky Realm Kings released their astral domains and covered the entire Heaven Cord sect. If Longao was in the Heaven Cord sect, the 13 of them would be able to pinpoint his location. Moreover, according to the news from the Heaven Cord sect, Longao was trapped in the Heaven Cord formation. The 13 of them knew what the Heaven Cord formation. Some ordinary disciples? Not to mention Longao. Even Hao Qian and Hao Feng were not present. What exactly happened? Chuntang's face instantly turned gloomy as a bad premonition arose spontaneously. Could it be that the Heaven Music sect had been destroyed by Longao? If it had been someone else, or if it had been 3 years ago, Chantang would definitely not have believed it. But now, Shantang was very clear that Longao had the power to destroy the Heaven Cord sect. Longao might not be able to do it with his strength, but it didn't mean that the apocalyptic Mad Dragon couldn't do it. No matter what, the Heaven Sound sect only had 2 territory ancestors. How could the Heaven Sound sect resist the world-exterminating Mad Dragon? Thinking of this, Chantang's face became gloomier and uglier. Your Majesty, it seems that we are late. The 13 of them were already extremely fast, but even so, they were still too late. Just as the 13 of them were about to leave, rays of reincarnation sword chi came quickly. It was Longao's reincarnation lightning strike. With the strength of the 13 of them, of course, they were not afraid of Longao's attack. The 13 of them, who were about to leave, were suddenly attacked. They already knew what had happened. Not only did Longao destroy the Heaven Music sect, but he also dared to stay here. He was provoking them and completely ignoring the Empire. How could they bear it? Endless anger turned into billowing murderous intent. Longao, you are always a coward. Do you dare to be a real man? Qintang, you are always bullying others with numbers. Do you dare to be a real man? Chuntang was speechless. What Longao said was true. Longao, among the 13 of us, you can choose any one of us to fight with you. I, Chuntang, swear a blood oath. As long as you win, not only will the grudge between us be written off, I will also publicly apologize to you. Chuntang was really angry. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said such words. It was better to be safe than sorry. If Longao won, would Chentang really apologize publicly? Chentang was the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire. If he apologized publicly, he wouldn't only be representing himself, but the entire empire. However, Chentang was confident. Among the 13 of them, 3 were titled World Kings, and the other 10 were Sky World Kings. Any one of them could sweep through any plane. With Longao's strength, even if he had the help of the world-destroying Berserk Dragon, he wouldn't be able to defeat the 13 of them. Chantang, to think that you are the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire. Shameless trash like you is really disgusting. If I were you, I would rather die than continue living. You are simply a waste of air. Longao wasn't a fool. Of course, he wouldn't pick a random person to fight. What a joke. Any one of the 13 of them wasn't someone he could deal with. Chentang was only doing this to lure him out. The more Chentang did this, the more he wouldn't go out. Longao, what do you want? Chentang, I only have one request. As long as you are willing to abdicate, the grudge between me and the heaven-devouring empire will be written off. Abdicate. Longao's intention was clear. If Qin Tong chose to abdicate, it would mean that he would be the first emperor in the heaven-devouring empire to be forced to abdicate. It was simply a humiliation. Qin Tong's face darkened. Xinzhua, who had been silent all this while, sneered. Longao, who do you think you are? Do you think you can force His Majesty to abdicate? Over the years, there had been countless emperors in the heaven-devouring empire. Qin Tong was one of the more outstanding emperors. Under Qin Tong's leadership, the heaven-devouring empire flourished day by day. There were even rumors that Qin Tong wanted to lead the heaven-devouring empire to invade other empires. One had to know that unless there was no other choice, no other empires would be willing to start a war. After all, every war between two empires would cause a storm of blood and corpses. From this, it could be seen how powerful an emperor Qin Tong was. He had great talent and strategy, so how could he give up the throne so easily? There was no need to even think about it. It was almost impossible. Waving his hand to stop Xinzhua, Qin Tong smiled. Why are you wasting your breath on a coward? Longao, if you want to continue being a coward, I have nothing to say. Qin Tong turned around and prepared to leave with the 12 of them. It seemed like he was going to give up. But was that possible? Chapter 2101. Of course, Qin Tong and the others wouldn't choose to leave. Qin Tong thought that Longao wouldn't be able to hold himself back and come out. But what happened? Nothing happened. Not to mention Longao. Not even a strand of Longao's hair could be seen. Your Majesty, what should we do now? They had mobilized 3 titled World Kings and 10 Starry Sky World Kings, but they still couldn't deal with Longao. This was a great humiliation to them. The humiliation piled on top of each other. It was a tragedy. Anger. Qin Tong was like a volcano that could erupt at any time. He couldn't figure out what gave Longao the confidence to provoke him and his empire. To say that Longao did not have a strong backer as a guarantee, even if he was beaten to death, he would not believe it. Something's not right. Qin Tong thought of something and said coldly, if there's a battle between the Heavenly Cord sect and Longao, there's no way we didn't hear anything. Your Majesty, are you suspecting that the Heavenly Cord sect and Longao are working together to deal with us? Humph. Qin Tong knew that it was impossible for Longao to destroy the Heavenly Cord sect without a sound even if he had the world-destroying Berserk Dragon. Less than 10 minutes had passed. No matter how fast Longao was, how could he be faster than them? The only explanation was that the Heavenly Cord sect had betrayed the Heaven-Devouring Empire. Although the Heavenly Cord sect didn't belong to the Heaven-Devouring Empire, everyone knew that they had to submit to the Heaven-Devouring Empire. The Heavenly Cord sect was no exception. Bring me Hao Chun and Hao Feng. Yes, Hao Chun and Hao Feng were depressed. If they didn't agree to Longao's request, they would die. If they agreed to Longao's request, the Heaven-Devouring Empire wouldn't let them off. In the face of life and death, they would still choose Longao. The only way was to find a way to go into hiding. To be safe, Hao Qian and Hao Feng ordered all the core disciples to leave the Heaven-Devouring Plane as quickly as possible. They were smart enough to think that the most dangerous place was the safest place. However, this move obviously didn't work. Soon, the 2 of them were caught by Xinzhua and brought back to the Heaven Cord sect. Your Majesty, we know we were wrong. Please let us go. As they were the territory ancestors of the starry sky, they were the supreme existences in this vast universe. No matter where they went, they were always superior. But now, the 2 of them were like stray dogs, wagging their tails and begging the Heaven-Devouring Empire to spare them. Tell me everything that happened in detail. Otherwise, I will kill all the core disciples of the Heaven Music sect, no matter where they go. I won't leave a single one alive. Leave no one alive. If someone else had said this, the 2 of them might have doubted it. Only Qin Tong's body began to tremble. Qin Tong definitely had the strength to do so. No matter what, Qin Tong was the emperor of the Heaven-Devouring Empire. With a single order from him, all the forces in the world would have to obey him. At that time, The core disciples of the sect would have nowhere to hide. He sighed deeply in his heart. The two of them cursed Longao fiercely in their hearts. Of all the people he could find, he just had to find them. In front of them was Longao, and behind them was the heaven-devouring empire. They were stuck between a rock and a hard place. Not daring to hide anything from Zhang Xin, he recounted everything that had happened previously in detail. You mean to say that your mistake this time was caused by Longao's threats? Wasn't that the case? Since they were going to die anyway, the two of them hardened their hearts. Hao Qin nodded and said, Your Majesty, you're an ambitious person. There's no need for us to say more about your grand plans. I believe your Majesty will make the decision. Impudent. Qian Tong waved his hand and stopped the angry Xinzhua. He smiled and said, The two of you are talented. I have neglected you previously. Now, let me ask you, are you willing to join my heaven-devouring empire and become elders? Looking at Qian Tong, the two of them were dumbfounded. They didn't know what the emperor meant. Under normal circumstances, Qian Tong should have killed the two of them. However, not only did Qian Ting not do anything, he even wanted them to join his empire. What was going on? Was Qian Teng going to let bygones be bygones? Although they hadn't interacted with Qian Teng before, they believed that no one would tolerate such a thing. Hao Chun and Hao Feng glanced at each other. They didn't know what Qian Teng meant. Under such circumstances, should they agree or not? Are the two of you not willing to join? We're willing. We're very willing. Thank you, Your Majesty. They were already lucky that they didn't die. There was no harm in joining the heaven-devouring empire. Until now, the two of them still couldn't figure out why Qian Teng would do this. Right now, the two of them were like meat on a chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. Do you know that Longao is currently in the Heaven Cord sect? It's just that we can't lock onto his location. I heard that your Heaven Cord sect has a super formation. I wonder if you can activate it? So that was the case. The two of them weren't fools. They instantly understood why Qian Teng didn't kill them and allowed them to enter his empire. It wasn't because he was soft-hearted, but because of their sect's formation. Since things had already developed to this point, how could they not activate the formation? Since things had already developed to this point, they could only blame themselves. Hao Qin said, Your Majesty, although the Heaven Cord formation is incomparably powerful, it's still unknown if it can lock onto Longao's location. Hao Qin wasn't completely confident in this point. If it was anyone else, they would definitely be able to lock onto Longao's location. Only a madman like Longao could escape from the seal of 3 titled world kings. Could they lock onto his location? If you can lock onto Longao's location, you will be heavily rewarded. If you can't, Qian Ting didn't continue because the meaning of his words was clear. Hao Chun and Hao Feng knew what Qian Ting meant. They cursed in their hearts. They had seen shameless people before, but they had never seen someone as shameless as Qian Ting. However, the two of them couldn't do anything about it. After all, Qian Teng's strength and status were too high. The two of them didn't say anything else and slowly retreated. The matter of the Heavenly Cord sect had already spread throughout the heaven-devouring plain. Everyone had thought that Qian Teng would kill Hao Qin and Huang Xiaolong. Who would have thought that not only did Qian Teng not kill them, but he even allowed them to join the heaven-devouring empire? What exactly happened? Could it be that traitors were popular now? Many people couldn't figure it out. They were all shocked by Qian Teng and the heaven-devouring empire's decision. They didn't know if the heaven-devouring empire had taken the wrong medicine. Chapter 2102. Heavenly Music Sect. The Heavenly Music Sect was a supreme existence and was also the sect's last resort. The Heavenly Music Sect had a rule that they couldn't use the Heavenly Music Array unless they had no other choice. But the result? They had no other choice. Qian Teng's deterrence was right there. Unless they didn't want to live anymore, they had to activate the Heavenly Music Array to lock onto Longao's position. If they couldn't lock onto him, they would be finished. The two of them were depressed to the extreme. They were implicated. The current Hao Qin felt very helpless. Sometimes, it wasn't a good thing to overestimate yourself. He had been prepared to deal with Longao to curry favor with the heaven-devouring empire. He didn't expect that before he could do anything, Longao had already made his move. One might be able to survive a heavenly disaster, but one couldn't survive a self-inflicted disaster. The heavenly music array was activated instantly. The entire heavenly music sect was enveloped by a mysterious and strange aura. Ambushes were coming from all directions. At the peak of the clouds in the 9 heavens, Shen Tung sensed the super array of the heavenly sun sect, and his expression changed slightly. It seems like Tianyin was already a sky boundary master back then. It's a pity that he died in the end. Otherwise, if we could recruit him into the empire, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. A sky boundary master was far more valuable than any sky boundary master. Even a sky boundary king couldn't compare. It was just that Tianyin had died for no reason back then. It was very puzzling. Shen Tung and the others knew that with Tianyin's absolute array, unless a titled world king attacked, even a sky boundary king might not be able to kill Tianyin. Shen He thought for a moment and said, "Your Majesty, some cultivators are willing to self-detonate and send their primordial spirit into reincarnation in order to obtain greater opportunities. Tianyin's death back then is a mystery." "You mean to say that Tianyin didn't die?"
Yes.
Shen Tung nodded. If Tianyin really didn't die, then no matter what price he had to pay, he had to recruit him. Shen Tung and the others were also very nervous. Even they weren't sure if the heavenly music array could lock onto Longao's position. If they couldn't lock onto him, it would be almost impossible to find Longao's tracks. He didn't rush him. Time trickled by. Hao Chun and Hao Feng were more nervous than anyone else, because the two of them were unable to confirm if the sect's super grand formation was able to lock onto Longao's tracks. "Master, I still can't lock onto it." His face was very gloomy, as ugly as it could get. "Grand Elder, if we can't lock onto Longao's location, we'll split up. Remember, if you get the chance, leave the devouring heaven plane immediately and never come back." The two of them were almost certain. If they couldn't lock onto Longao's position, the two of them would definitely die. Taking a step back, even if they were lucky enough to lock onto Longao's position, it was still unknown whether they would fall in the future. Would Shunting allow two traitors to live? In the Dragon Seal space, sensing the array's aura constantly searching for him, Longao was shocked. The array set up by an array master of the Starry Sky Realm was indeed extraordinary. It far surpassed his master's array. It seemed like the founder of the Heaven Music sect wasn't ordinary at all. "Long Fu, can the array lock onto the Dragon Seal's position?" No. Long Ao finally heaved a sigh of relief. He dared to go against the heaven-devouring empire and constantly provoke them and Shantung because of the Dragon Seal. If the Dragon Seal couldn't avoid being locked onto by the array, then things would be troublesome. "Master, things aren't as simple as you think. What's going on?" Long Ao rarely saw Long Fu with such an expression. Was there something wrong? "Master, if it's just an array, we can choose to ignore it. But from what I sense just now, there's a titled World King Array Master in the Heaven Music sect. If this person were to take action, although I'm not sure if he can lock onto our position, he'll definitely be able to suppress us. This Array Master's level has already reached the level of a titled World King." F***CK Lin Fan cursed in his heart. Long Ao had already guessed who this Super Array Master that Long Fu was talking about was. If he wasn't wrong, this Super Array Master should be the legendary Heaven Music Array Master. He was also the Master Array Master of the Starry Sky World. Who would have thought that after so many years, not only did Heaven Music not die, but he even made continuous breakthroughs to become a Starry Sky World King Array Master and a titled World King Array Master. Long Ao was very clear what a titled World King Array Master meant. Among the titled World Kings, Heaven Music was an invincible existence. "Long Fu, we still don't know if Heaven Music is a friend or foe. With Heaven Music's level and strength, he wouldn't even put the Heaven-devouring Empire in his eyes." Long Ao knew that unless the devouring Heaven Empire had a titled World King Array Master, no one would be a match for Tianyin in the tens of thousands of domains, even in the vast universe. "Master, you have to be careful. I can clearly sense that this titled World King Array Master has already locked onto our position." Just as the two of them were speaking, An unparalleled aura suddenly erupted from the heaven music array and locked onto the dragon seal. In the blink of an eye, the dragon seal appeared in everyone's sight. It was a palm-sized black seal with a lifelike dragon carved on it. Looking at the small black seal in the air, Shuntang and the others were overjoyed. However, they were still shocked. With such a small black seal, Longao was able to escape from their lock-on. It was truly unbelievable. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it even if they were beaten to death. Shintang's face was filled with greed. Longao's small black seal was extremely powerful. If they could obtain the small black seal, wouldn't they be like tigers that had grown wings? Before Shintang could make a move, Hao Qian and Hao Feng, who were in the array, suddenly appeared in the sky and both of them knelt down. What's wrong with these two? Are they sick in the head? Looking at the two of them kneeling down, Shintang and the others were curious. They did not know what was wrong with Hao Qian and Hao Feng. Why would they kneel down for no reason? Could it be? Shintang and the others seemed to have thought of something as their faces changed. Disciple Hao Chun welcomes old master. Disciple Hao Feng welcomes old master. Ha ha ha. Rise. To think that the cultivation state that I couldn't break through for millions of years would be activated by you guys today. Heaven is on my side. Ha 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 ha. Chapter 2103. Tian appeared. Titled World King? The 13 of them were all titled World King powerhouses, so they could naturally sense Tianyin's aura. After disappearing for over 1,000,000 years, they didn't expect that Tianyin, who was only a Starry Sky World King, would actually become a true titled World King. Hao Qian and Hao Feng also sensed the aura of their old ancestor. The two of them were pleasantly surprised. With their old ancestor's timely appearance, whether or not they could lock onto Longao's position, their lives would be saved. Tianyin, after 1,000,000 years of seclusion, he had finally broken through from a Starry Sky World King to a peak Starry Sky World King. He was only a step away from becoming a titled World King, but this step was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. For over 10,000 years, Tianyin hadn't been able to break through. He never imagined that his two juniors would suddenly activate a Starry Sky World King array formation that he had laid down 1,000,000 years ago, helping him break through to the titled World King realm. As his cultivation broke through to the titled World King realm, his array formation skills also broke through. From a Starry Sky World King array master, he directly became a titled World King array master. Tianyin was completely confident that he was an invincible existence. Your Majesty, we haven't seen each other in many years. How have you been? Shintang smiled, not suggesting anything. Tianyin, congratulations on breaking through to the titled World King realm. Strike while the iron is hot. Shintang was an ambitious and ruthless character of his generation. He naturally knew what was most beneficial to him. He smiled and said, Tianyin, I now invite you to join the Empire. Not only can you become an elder, but you can also obtain all the resources of the Empire. How about it? All the resources. This temptation was too great. If it were anyone else, they would simply be unable to resist. As for Tianyin, Tianyin smiled and said, Your Majesty, there's no hurry. Let me help you deal with this person first. Tianyin had already used the help of an array master. Not only did he lock onto the dragon seal, but he even made it appear. Just this alone was enough to prove how strong Tianyin's array formation skills were. Why don't you come out and meet me? Tianyin didn't attack. In the next second, Longao instantly appeared, and the dragon seal vanished without a trace. You are truly courageous, challenging the Empire alone. Longao, do you really think you can hide the truth from the masses? If it were anyone else, they definitely wouldn't dare to do this. But Tianyin's current status and strength was different. Even if Qintang was unhappy, he could only endure it. It wasn't my intention. This was the truth. From the very beginning, Longao had never intended to be enemies with the heaven-devouring empire or the Chinquin sect. However, regardless of whether it was the Chinquin sect or the heaven-devouring empire, they were too despicable. Your spatial artifact doesn't seem to be able to help you. Not necessarily. Longao feared this heaven's eye. As expected of a titled World King Array Master, he was actually able to lock onto the dragon seal and force it to appear. Ever since he obtained the dragon seal, such a thing had never happened before. Ha ha ha, this old man has never seen such an arrogant brat like you in so many years. Longao, I admire you very much. As long as you surrender, I can guarantee that you will not die. Ninu. Shintang waved his hand to stop Shinhe. Shintang was also unhappy. Tianin's actions were simply not putting him in his eyes. If he didn't put the empire in his eyes, where was his face? However, under such circumstances, he was unwilling to make another strong enemy. Tianin was different from others. If he was just a titled world king, even if it was troublesome, he believed that with the empire's strength, they could still kill him. But the result? Not only did Tianin break through to the titled world king realm, he even became a titled world king array master. What kind of concept was this? Although Chentang wasn't willing to admit it, he knew that even if the 13 of them joined forces, they might not be able to kill Tiani. The power of a titled world king array master was simply too great. Longao, what do you think? What if I don't agree? Tianin wasn't simple. Longao was very clear that Tianin had only reached the titled world king realm after several hundred years of seclusion. This in itself showed that Tianin's talent was extremely powerful. Under such circumstances, Tianin didn't even put Chintang in his eyes. If you don't agree, it's fine. I can only kill you. You think you can? Tianin laughed. Hao Chun and Hao Feng also laughed. Even Chen Ting and the others laughed. With Tianin's array formation skills and strength, killing Long Ao would only take a few minutes. Long Ao's spatial divine tool that he relied on was also useless at this time. In this situation, Long Ao actually dared to be so impudent. He really didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. Tianin, how about you and I make a deal? Let's hear it. Tianin was also curious. He didn't know what sort of deal Long Ao wanted to make with him. It's very simple. As long as you can kill Chan Ting and the others, I will tell you how to find the Primal Chaos Stone Tablets. Hearing the words Primal Chaos Stone Tablets, everyone was stunned. This was because they all knew what a Primal Chaos Stone Tablet meant. In the vast starry skies, there were a total of 12 Primal Chaos Stone Tablets, all of which were owned by the Starry Skies rulers. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible to obtain a Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. However, the current situation was different. In the past, the 12 Starry Skies rulers had all fallen in battle, and the 12 Primal Chaos Stone Tablets had been scattered throughout the Starry Skies. To this day, no one had been able to find a single Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. Legend had it that anyone who could obtain a Primal Chaos Stone Tablet could become the Starry Skies ruler. Do you think I'll believe you? Whether you believe me or not is up to you. Tianin, you should know whether I'm telling the truth or not. If you don't want to, I'm sure many people will be interested. Tianin didn't say anything. He could clearly sense that Long Ao didn't seem to be lying. Could it be true? Chun Ting and the others' expressions changed again and again. If Long Ao really did know about the Primal Chaos Stone Tablets, then Long Ao couldn't die. When the time came, they could search his soul and obtain the secrets of the Primal Chaos Stone Tablets. Your Majesty, what do you think I should do now? Tianin looked at Chun Tong with a smile that didn't look like a smile. Tianin was very clear that even if he joined the heaven-devouring empire, he would at most be an elder. He wouldn't be able to achieve anything. If he could find the Primal Chaos Stone Tablets, not to mention establishing an empire, even dominating the entire Starry Skies would be a matter of minutes. It turned out that Tianin's ambition was too great. Before Long Ao's Primal Chaos Stone Tablets, he had been thinking about how to establish an empire. He had even thought of a name for the empire, Tianin Empire. No matter what, Tianin couldn't join the heaven-devouring empire. When Tianin asked this question, Chantang already knew what Tianin meant. However, his expression didn't change at all. After all, he was the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire. As the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire, Shantang had already endured it for a long time. Shintang's status was the highest here, yet Tianyin did not put Shintang in his eyes. How could Tianyin not feel angry? He smiled. Your Majesty, I'm not from the heaven-devouring empire. Everything I do is for the Heaven Court sect. It has nothing to do with you. What do you think? Of course that was the case. Even so, it was impossible for Shantang to admit it. It was just a joke. If they let Longao go, the heaven-devouring empire would lose face. Where would he put his face? As for the primal chaos stone tablet, he couldn't let Tianyin have it either. Shintang had already made up his mind. If he had no other choice, he wouldn't do anything to Tianyin. Tianyin, it seems like you're determined to go against the empire. I wouldn't dare. Tianyin laughed and said, Your Majesty, I don't want to be enemies with the empire. At the same time, I hope that the empire will not restrict my freedom. I'm sorry about your suggestion. Tianyin's meaning was clear. He had rejected Shantang. He refused to join the heaven-devouring empire. Shintang's face was dark and ugly. Please, no matter what, this was the Heaven Court sect and not the heaven-devouring empire. Was he going to leave just like that? If he left just like that, he would lose all his face. You're not willing to leave? Killing intent surged out of Tianyin as he sneered. I've already set up a formation around the Heaven Court sect. If you don't leave, I won't be polite. Tianyin, we will settle this score with you one day. They had no choice. Even if they didn't want to leave, they had to leave the Heaven Court sect first. At the end of the day, Shantang and the rest were still afraid of Tianyin. If it was just a titled world king, Tianyin would definitely die. However, the situation was different now. Tianyin wasn't just a titled world king. He was also a titled world king array master. He wouldn't have any problem fighting against 10 titled world kings. Apart from that, Shantang and the others didn't know if there were any powerful array masters in the heavenly music sect. It was better to be safe than sorry. If they were to fail miserably, wouldn't they be going for wool and coming home shorn? Shintang and the rest didn't stop. They left as soon as they said they would. In just a short while, they had disappeared without a trace. Seeing them leave, Tianyin smiled and said, Longao, since Shantang and the rest have left, why don't we sit down and have a good talk? That's what I was thinking. Both Shintang and Tianyin weren't simple, especially Tianyin. There was no need to talk about his array skills. The four returned to the main hall and sat down. Longao, why don't you consider my offer? As long as you hand over the primal chaos stone tablet, you can leave this place. In the future, I will also help you resist the heaven-devouring empire. What do you think? Tianyin shook his head. Longao smiled and said, Tianyin, I discovered the heaven-devouring primal chaos stone tablet by accident. After so many years, I have never mentioned it to anyone. My meaning is clear. As long as you help me kill Shunting and the rest, as well as Ancestor Heaven and Earth and Fangxia, I will hand over the primal chaos stone tablet to you. I will do as I say. Otherwise, don't even think about getting it. He ignored Tianyin. Before Tianyin could speak, Longao continued, Tianyin, don't think that just because you can lock onto a spatial artifact that you have it in your hands. I can tell you clearly that as long as I want to leave, I can do so at any time. Do you believe me? Seeing how calm Longao was, Tianyin and the rest were wary. Could it be that Longao was so fearless because he had something to rely on? Tianyin smiled and said, Longao, if you can leave under my watch, I will reconsider this matter. What do you think? All right. Just as he finished speaking, Longao's figure had already disappeared from where he stood. They watched helplessly as the other party still left. The three of them were a little dumbfounded. They had seen powerful spatial divine tools before, but it was the first time they had seen such a strange and powerful spatial divine tool. It was definitely unrealistic to say that they were not greedy. After a short moment of shock, Tianyin smiled confidently and said, I want to see how you can leave Heaven Music Sect under my watch. Longao, I hope you won't disappoint me. Chapter 2105. Tianyin had absolute confidence in his array formation. If he could lock onto the opponent's spatial artifact before, he could do the same now. Tian sealed the entire hall with his aura and began to lock onto the opponent. There was no movement. What was going on? Tian was shocked. According to his calculations, it shouldn't be difficult for him to lock onto the opponent's spatial artifact. But now, within the dragon seal space, Long Fu, Tian can't lock onto our position? Even Longao wasn't confident. Tian had indeed locked onto his dragon seal with the help of his array formation. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't worried. Long Fu smiled. Tian might be a titled World King Array Master, but he just broke through. I was careless previously. It's almost impossible for him to lock onto the dragon seal. So that was the case. Longao let out a long sigh of relief. If that was the case, he didn't need to fear Tian at all. Tian, weren't you confident that you could lock onto my position? Why aren't you moving? Tian, who was focusing on locking onto the spatial artifact, suddenly heard the voices around him. His expression changed again and again, becoming extremely gloomy. He couldn't figure out how his opponent had done it. Old ancestor, Longao used his spatial artifact to escape from the joint attack of 3 titled world kings. Hao Chun did not hesitate in the slightest. He immediately recounted everything that had happened in full detail. After listening, Tian Yin's expression became even gloomier. Longao's spatial artifact was actually so powerful. No wonder Longao dared to provoke him, Shuntong, and even the entire heaven-devouring empire. Longao, I can consider the conditions you just mentioned. He had already lost if he couldn't lock onto the opponent's spatial artifact. He had thought that he would be able to move unhindered in the vast universe after becoming a titled world king, or even a titled world king array master. He never imagined that he would be helpless against a mere starry sky region royal capital. What a tragedy. Helpless, he could only choose to compromise. Tian, do you think I will believe you? Hao Chun, who had been silent all this time, said angrily, Longao, don't be so shameless. Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to the ancestor like that? If it was the previous Hao Chen, would he dare to do this? With Tian as a backer, Hao Chen's confidence also instantly soared considerably. A dog relying on its master's power to bully others. Longao, you. He waved his hand and stopped Hao Chun from continuing. Longao, there is no grudge between us. There is no need to fight to the death. What do you think? That's right. As soon as his voice fell, Longao's figure appeared instantly. It seems that you are very confident in yourself. Tian, I can come and go at any time. Neither you nor Shantong can stop me. Although Tian didn't show it on the surface, he was already very excited. He couldn't wait to get the tablet and refine it. If he could refine it and become a ruler of the universe, not to mention the heaven-devouring empire, he could even ignore all the other empires combined. He couldn't wait. In that case, I'll give you a new condition. If you still don't agree, it means that you're not sincere at all. If that's the case, our conversation ends here. Tian didn't say anything because he didn't know what to say. He didn't know why, but he had a bad feeling. He didn't know what Longao would give him. He couldn't possibly ask him to kill himself, right? If he really wanted to kill himself, he wouldn't agree even if he didn't want the Primal Chaos tablet. As if he could guess what Tian was thinking, Longao smiled and said, Don't worry, I won't ask you to kill yourself. My condition is actually very simple. As long as you and the Heaven Music sect submit to me, I'll tell you the location of the Primal Chaos tablet. Before Tian could say anything, Longao continued, In order to prevent you from going back on your words, it's best if you can swear a blood oath. My condition isn't too much, right? This condition wasn't too much? They were so focused on building the empire that they didn't even think about giving it a name. At this moment, Black Wind said, Let's just call it the Longao Empire. Not bad. Longao shrugged helplessly and said, Whatever. There was nothing they could do to establish an empire. According to the current conditions, The three of them were not qualified to establish an empire. If this matter were to spread out, they would probably become a laughingstock. The establishment of the Longao Empire seemed to have grown wings as the news spread out rapidly. Longao established an empire? If it was the previous Longao, no one would know him. But now, Longao was known by everyone. It was a miracle that he could survive despite constantly provoking the heaven-devouring empire. Even so, what did Longao have to establish an empire? What qualifications did he have to establish an empire? Could it be that Longao had a titled world king behind him? Could it be that Longao could dominate several thousand worlds? There was no need to guess. Everyone knew that it was impossible for Longao to fulfill either of the two conditions. Since that was the case, did water enter Longao's brain? Why did he want to establish an empire? Heaven-devouring empire, in a luxurious hall. Chentong, who had also received the news, was not angry at all. Instead, he laughed. Not only Chentong, but everyone else also laughed. They had seen shameless people before, but they had never seen such a shameless person. A mere starry sky domain emperor thought that he could cover the sky with one hand and be invincible under the heavens with a powerful spatial divine tool. He was just a frog at the bottom of a well. Your Majesty, Longao's sudden establishment of an empire is obviously against us. If we don't get rid of him as soon as possible, our reputation will be tarnished. How could Chentong not know what Shunhe meant? As long as Longao was alive, he would always be a problem. The empire's reputation had already been tarnished. After being provoked by Longao time and time again, the empire couldn't kill him. This was simply a disgrace. Let's put aside Longao's matter for now. Tianyin isn't dead, but he has broken through to the titled World King realm. Moreover, he has become a titled World King Array Master. If we don't get rid of him as soon as possible, we will also be in big trouble. In Chentong's view, Tianyin's threat was far above Longao's. If Tianyin continued to suppress the world, with Tianyin's valiant strength and array formation, he believed that it wouldn't take many years for him to suppress thousands of worlds. With Tianyin, a powerful titled World King Array Master overseeing the situation, establishing an empire would be a matter of minutes. Thinking of this, Chentong naturally chose to get rid of Tianyin to prevent future troubles. Your Majesty, Tianyin's situation is very troublesome. Even if we send out two titled World Kings, we might not be able to smoothly kill him. If he escapes and wants to deal with us, Shanajwa didn't continue speaking, but the meaning in his words was very clear. Chentong's expression was very solemn. Tianyin was indeed a big problem. What should he do? He had to kill him in one strike. He absolutely couldn't let Tianyin escape. Otherwise, he would be letting a tiger return to the mountains. After thinking about it, he couldn't think of a good way to deal with Tianyin. At this time, Shunhe suddenly said, Your Majesty, I have an idea. We can invite Tianyin here. At that time, I don't believe that Tianyin can fight against 100 people alone. At this point, this was the only way. Making a move in the empire was the safest and also the safest. Without any other choice, Chentong could only choose to agree. He nodded in agreement and said, This matter is decided. The two of you go and make the arrangements. I will invite Tianyin here tomorrow. This time, we can only win and not lose. Yes, Your Majesty. Shunhe and Shanjua naturally knew the seriousness of the matter. They didn't dare to delay in the slightest. They immediately turned and left to make arrangements for tomorrow. Chapter 2107. Heaven Music Sect. Having received Shun Tong's invitation, Tianyin smirked coldly. Old Master, I'm afraid Shun Tong must have an ulterior motive for inviting you this time around. It's best if you don't go. Yes. Since I've not joined the heaven-devouring empire, Shun Tong will definitely not tolerate my presence. To think that he would resort to such despicable schemes to deal with me. How shameless. Even though Tianyin was confident in his own strength, he did not dare to head over casually. The might of the heaven-devouring empire was there for all to see. If he were unlucky and fell in the heaven-devouring empire, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. At the thought of this, from the very beginning, Tian had no intention of heading over to the heaven-devouring empire. That's right. How's Longao doing? Old master, according to the news I've received, Longao has just established the Longao Empire. Longao Empire? He was shocked. Tian nearly burst out laughing. He had seen shameless people before, but this was the first time he had seen someone this shameless. To think that a mere universal domain emperor would dare to establish an empire. Wasn't he afraid of being laughed at? In the vast universe, there were countless empires. The Longao Empire was probably the only one without an army. You sure don't know your place. Tianyin, you don't have to worry about whether or not I know my place. I can guarantee that Shuntong will not let you off. The moment he said that, Longao's figure appeared. Longao, I'm impressed by your courage. Even though they were unwilling to admit it, they were impressed by Longao's courage. Even with the support of a space weapon, would anyone else dare to step into the heaven music sect so casually? Without a doubt, no one would dare to do so. Tianyin, how about we make a bet? Let's hear it. Looking at Longao with interest, Tianyin did not know what Longao was up to. I can bet that you'll fall within 3 months. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Tianyin wasn't the only one. Even Hao Qian and Hao Feng were laughing maniacally. He would fall within 3 months? Why didn't he know about it? Although his strength wasn't enough to shake the entire heaven-devouring empire, Tianyin was still confident that no one could kill him. Even if there were 2 or 3 titled world kings, he would be able to block them with the help of the array. Longao, is there something wrong with your head? Tianyin would definitely not believe it. Longao smiled with an unconcerned expression and said, "We'll wait and see. I hope you can survive when the time comes." Longao didn't stay any longer, turning around and entering the dragon seal space. Tianyin did not try to stop them. He knew that he could not kill them, so why waste time? Tianyin's rejection enraged Shantung. He clearly knew that Tianyin had already guessed his intentions, but he was still furious. This matter had already become a laughingstock. As the overlord of tens of thousands of realms, it was a great humiliation for Chun Tung to be unable to summon a person. Valley of 10,000 Swords Wan Tong, who was in the middle of cultivation, suddenly opened his eyes. He found Wan Jian in disbelief and got straight to the point. "Senior Wan Jian, I want to leave the Valley of 10,000 Swords." This was Wan Jian's territory. Even if Wan Tong wanted to leave, he had to inform Wan Jian first. Wan Jian was curious as to what was going on. "Wan Tong, what's going on? You just broke through, so you need a long time to stabilize your cultivation." It turned out that after this incident, Wan Tong's state of mind had undergone a transformation. He had finally broken through from a Starry Sky Territory ancestor to a Starry Sky Territory overlord. Wan Tong said anxiously, "Senior Wan Jian, I don't know what's going on. His Majesty actually wants to invite my master out of seclusion." Wan Jian naturally knew what Wan Tong's master meant. If it were anyone else, especially a Starry Sky Territory ancestor, Shuntong would have easily given up and killed them. Only Wan Tong was someone Shuntong didn't dare to kill and seal in the Valley of 10,000 Swords. Outsiders might not know, but many people in the heaven-devouring empire knew the reason why His Majesty didn't dare to kill Wan Tong. It was because of Wan Tong's master that even Shuntong didn't dare to act recklessly. Many years ago, Wan Tong's master, Bu Jing, had chosen to enter seclusion in hopes of breaking through to a higher realm. After so many years, Bu Jing hadn't appeared. It was obvious that he hadn't succeeded. Otherwise, he would have come out long ago. Wan Tong couldn't figure out the reason why Shuntong wanted to invite his master out of seclusion. "Then you should leave first." Wan Jian also knew the severity of the situation. His Majesty wouldn't casually invite Bu Jing out of seclusion if there wasn't something important. Could it be that the empire was in danger? Bu Jingya was the seclusion grounds of the titled world king Bu Jing. It was also one of the forbidden grounds of the heaven-devouring empire. No one was allowed to enter without permission. Otherwise, the consequences would be dire. "Your Majesty, what are you doing?" Wan Tong knew that his master was in seclusion to break through to a higher realm. If he was interrupted at this moment, wouldn't all his efforts be wasted? Shintang's face was filled with helplessness as he sighed deeply. At the side, Shanhe briefly recounted what had happened, including the fact that Tianyin had already broken through to become a titled world king. Shintang said helplessly, Wantong, I know that Senior Bujing can break through at any moment, but other than him, I can't think of anyone else who can suppress Tianyin. Even though they were both titled World King Formation Masters, the difference between the two was obvious. However, one was a veteran titled World King Formation Master, while the other was one who had just broken through. Furthermore, Bujing was known as an invincible existence. It shouldn't be too difficult for him to kill Tianyin. In order to end this quickly, Shantang decided to invite Bujing out of seclusion. So that was the case. Wantong finally understood why Shintang was so anxious to invite his master out of seclusion. It was because the old master of Heaven Music Sect had successfully broken through to become a titled World King Formation Master. Senior Bujing, Shintang has something to discuss with you. Thunder boomed from Bujingya as dark clouds filled the skies. A series of lightning bolts as thick as an arm rained down like a meteor shower. Master is still one step away. Wantong sighed deeply. He knew that his master had not managed to break through after so many years of seclusion. Amidst the lightning, a figure flashed. Before the four of them could react, Bujing had appeared. Shintang, what's the matter? Bujing's face was cold. However, Shantang and the others could sense that he was displeased. But thinking about it, they understood. Anyone who was in seclusion would definitely be displeased. Chapter 2108. Bujing was a veteran titled World King, and he was also a veteran titled World King Array Master. Senior, this is what happened. Without the slightest hesitation, Shantang recounted Tianin's matter in detail. A titled World King Array Master? Bujing was a little surprised. He knew what a titled World King Array Master meant. It was no wonder Shintang had asked him to come out of seclusion. If Tianyin had really become a titled World King Array Master, it would be troublesome. Bring me there. Shintang was delighted. Wantong, come with me. Wantong sighed. He didn't say anything. He didn't have the right to interrupt the conversation between His Majesty and his master. Heavenly Insect. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't worried. Tianyin knew how strong the heaven-devouring empire was. Old ancestor, why don't we leave first? Hao Chen and Hao Feng were also worried. If the heaven-devouring empire insisted on dealing with them, how would they deal with them? Do you want to leave? As the voice sounded, 5 figures appeared at the same time. Shintang, Shunhe, Shunjua, Wantong, and Bujing. Senior Bujing. Tianyin ignored Shantang and the others. In his opinion, even if Shantang and the others were titled world kings, they wouldn't be able to deal with him. Only Bujing. As an array master, Tianyin knew what Bujing meant. Bujing was a legend. Tianyin, it seems like you still recognize me. Senior, you must be joking. If you hadn't reminded me, I wouldn't have become a titled World King Array Master. I will never forget Senior's kindness. Shintang and the others were shocked. They didn't think that there would be such a thing between the two. Tianyin, I'll give you a chance. Join the Empire and I'll take you in as my disciple. If it were anyone else who dared to say such a thing, Tianyin would have already slapped that person. What a joke. Tianyin was originally a titled World King Array Master. Who would have the qualifications to become his master? However, Tianyin was overjoyed when he heard this. He said excitedly, Thank you, Master. There was no killing. So simple? Shintang and the rest were dumbfounded. However, it was still beneficial for Tianyin to join the devouring Heaven Empire. No matter what, Tianyin was still a titled World King Array Master. Colluding with each other is disgusting. Just as everyone was about to leave, a faintly discernible figure suddenly spread throughout the hall. He exclaimed in surprise. Bujing was very shocked because he didn't sense that there was actually someone in the hall. Who was it? Was he also a titled World King? Bujing was completely confident that even a titled World King wouldn't be able to hide from his aura. Just how had the other party done this? Longao, You really don't know what's good for you. How dare you behave so atrociously in front of Senior Bujing? Chen Tong didn't conceal anything and roughly told him everything about Longao. Chen Tong did not dare to imagine what gave Longao such great courage to actually dare to provoke Bujing. Starry Sky Domain Emperor? Bujing didn't seem to believe it because the Starry Sky Domain Emperor was no different from an ant in his eyes. As long as he wanted to, he could kill any Starry Sky Domain Emperor at any time. However, such a Starry Sky Domain Emperor, who was at the mercy of others, had repeatedly provoked the Empire, and Shan Tong couldn't do anything about it. Wantong, is Longao your disciple? Yes. Wantong didn't seem to want others to know. He used his spiritual sense to tell Bujing that Longao was a talented array master. I see. Aoer, come out. Longao believed in Wantong very much. Although Wantong was not the strongest among the crowd, he had full confidence that Wantong would not let the crowd deal with him recklessly. Master. Aoer, this is my master, World King Bujing. He's also your martial ancestor. Come and greet your martial ancestor. Long Ao wasn't sure if this powerful World King Bujing was a friend or foe. However, with his master around, Long Ao bowed and said, Disciple greets martial ancestor Bujing. Wantong has a good eye. You're not bad. Long Ao, are you willing to join the Empire? Shentong didn't feel good about it. However, since Bujing had said so, he didn't say anything. Although he was the emperor of the heaven-devouring empire, he didn't have the final say in many things. Moreover, with Bujing's strength and array skills, he would receive the best treatment wherever he went. Would Long Ao agree? Almost everyone could foresee that if Bujing personally invited them, not to mention Long Ao, they believed that no matter who it was, they would not hesitate to agree. Long Ao shook his head and said firmly, Thank you for your kind intentions, martial ancestor. The grudge between me and the heaven-devouring empire has reached a point where it won't end until one of us is dead. I have already established my own Long Ao empire. One day, I will lead my empire to flatten the heaven-devouring empire. One had to admit that Long Ao was indeed arrogant. Only he would dare to say such words. If it was anyone else, would they dare to do so? Was it even possible to shake the heaven-devouring empire? There was no need to talk about the strength of the heaven-devouring empire. Not to mention Long Ao, even the other empires wouldn't dare to act so presumptuously. Long Ao, how dare you? Long Ao, you're courting death. Shin He and Shun Zhuo were enraged. They had seen people who didn't care about their lives, but they had never seen such a reckless person. Just as the two of them were about to attack, Bujing waved his hand and smiled. He praised, Your courage is commendable. Long Ao, I also want to see how you're going to destroy the heaven-devouring empire. Why don't we make a bet? Let's hear it. Ao, don't be impudent. Wantong was dumbfounded. He didn't expect his disciple to be so bold. Not only did he say such arrogant words, he even dared to provoke his master. It's fine. Bujing wasn't angry at all. It was strange. Everyone was curious. Based on Bujing's temper, if Long Ao dared to do such a thing, he would have already killed Long Ao. Why would he give Long Ao a chance to speak? Shintang had a bad premonition. He didn't say anything, but his eyes turned cold. Long Ao, let's make a bet in 100 years. If you can destroy the heaven-devouring empire within 100 years, I'll follow you in the future. How about it? What if I can't destroy the heaven-devouring empire within 100 years? Very simple. I don't want your life. I only want you to submit to the empire willingly. That's not too much, right? Little Nine has done his best. From tomorrow onwards, I will guarantee a minimum of 5 chapters. I will try my best to write as much as I can. This time, I will not make any promises. Everyone, please see Little Nine's sincerity. Brothers who support Little Nine, please bookmark the new book, Myriad Worlds God Emperor. If you have the ability, please send me a small tip. Little Nine sincerely thanks everyone. Chapter 2109. The Promise of 100 Years. Shintang and the others weren't fools. They could sense that Bu Jing was siding with Longao. But since things had already come to this, what else could they say? Although he was very unhappy, Shentang had full confidence in himself. Not to mention 100 years, even if it was 10,000 years, Longao wouldn't be able to shake the heaven-devouring empire. All right, I agree to the 100 years promise. He ignored Shentang and the others. Master, we'll meet again. Longao didn't stay any longer. Since he had agreed to the 100 years promise with Bu Jing, there wasn't much use for him to stay. With Bu Jing's deterrence, he believed that the heaven-devouring empire wouldn't do anything to him for the time being. Senior, there will be endless trouble if you let the tiger return to the mountain. Bu Jing laughed. Your Majesty, are you afraid? Him? Shentang refused to admit it. In fact, he was more or less afraid of Longao. Don't make a move for 3 years. Bu Jing's meaning was clear. Shentang nodded. 3 years was just a blink of an eye for a cultivator. No matter how talented Longao was, it was impossible for him to break through to the titled World King realm in 3 years. If Longao could break through to the Starry Sky Domain Emperor realm in 3 years, it would be a good thing. Brother Long, the 100 years promise seems a little troublesome. In the courtyard, after listening to Longao's words, both Is Plum and Haifeng turned serious. 100 years was nothing to Longao. It was impossible for him to shake the heaven-devouring empire. They were helpless. They couldn't figure out why Longao would agree to the 100 years promise. I know. What do you two plan to do? Is Plum and Haifeng looked at each other. Haifeng said, Brother Long, although I've always thought that it was a mistake for you to establish the Longao Empire, since you've decided, I'll support you unconditionally. Is Plum smiled and said, Brother Long, if you don't mind, we'd like to be the pioneers of the empire. What do you think? Regarding the two people's meaning, how could Longao not know? He was very touched. All right, in that case, let's find a plane first. Brother Long, what level of plane are you looking for to establish your empire? In the vast starry sky, planes stood in great numbers. Planes were divided into low-level planes, mid-level planes, and high-level planes. With the strength of the 3 of them, it was more than enough to occupy a mid-level or low-level plane. As for a high-level plane, it would be fine if there were no powerhouses overseeing it. However, if there were powerhouses overseeing it, things would be very troublesome. Low-level planes could not be filled with the power of the stars. In this way, low-level planes could be completely eliminated. I haven't decided yet. Why don't the 3 of us leave the devouring sky plane first and look around? If we find a suitable plane, we can establish an empire there. Establishing an empire was a must. If it was just him, Longao would definitely not be willing to establish an empire. After all, an empire would become a stumbling block for him and would not bring him any benefits. The 3 of them did not linger and quickly left the devouring sky plane. Just as Longao had guessed, the devouring sky empire did not try to kill the 3 of them after they left. It seemed like Bu Jing was a man of his word. The devouring sky empire's sphere of influence was huge. Tens of thousands of planes were under the devouring sky empire's control. In other words, the devouring sky empire was the overlord of this place. According to Ji and Haifeng, the devouring sky empire ruled tens of thousands of planes, and these planes were collectively known as a realm. Every empire occupied a realm. Realms were of different sizes. Large realms had hundreds of thousands of planes. Small realms only had a few thousand planes. The realm occupied by the devouring sky empire was not considered large, but it was definitely not small. Longao did not continue to linger in the realm occupied by the devouring sky empire. He knew that no matter which realm he established his empire in, he would be hunted down by the devouring sky empire. No matter what, this was the devouring sky empire's sphere of influence. It was very disadvantageous for him. Brother Long, there are countless realms in the vast universe. May I know which one you want to go to? Longao had not thought it through. His main purpose in entering the vast universe was to find Xiling and Bai Ling. However, he had no idea where the 2 of them were, let alone where to find them. At this moment, Ji seemed to have thought of something and said, Brother Long, no matter which realm we go to, As long as we establish an empire, we will not be tolerated by the empire. Why don't we choose a smaller realm? That way, it will be more convenient for us. Zhi, which realm do you think we should go to? Why don't we go to the Grand Cloud Empire? Back when I was only a grade 1 starry sky cultivator, I had been cultivating in the Grand Cloud Empire. Grand Cloud Empire? He had never heard of it. However, to Longao, any empire was the same. This was his first time in the vast universe. He was unfamiliar with the place and people. Other than the devouring sky empire, he had never heard of any other empire. Spray of Plum, can you tell me about the situation in Grand Cloud Empire? Ijime nodded and said, Grand Cloud Empire is considered very weak among the many empires in the starry sky. In the entire empire, there is only one titled World King. Moreover, he only rules over a few thousand worlds. If we go to Grand Cloud Empire, we might have a chance to rise. All right, then let's head to Grand Cloud Empire. Since Longao could not figure out which starry sky empire to go to, he did not even think about it. He immediately chose the Grand Cloud Empire that Sprout Plum had mentioned. If they were to walk on foot, even with their strength and speed, it would take them at least several decades to reach Grand Cloud Plain from the Devouring Heaven Plain. It might even take them longer. However, none of them were foolish enough to walk on foot. The three of them could rely on teleportation portals to constantly teleport from the Devouring Heaven Plain to the Grand Cloud Empire's boundary. It would only take a few dozen days. In fact, the Sky Devouring Realm had a huge teleportation formation. If they could use it, they would only need a day to reach there. But under such circumstances, how could they possibly use it? Just like that, the three of them used the teleportation formation to continuously teleport from one realm to another. The 100-year agreement between the Devouring Heaven Empire and Longao had already spread across many realms. Countless people were shocked. They did not know where Longao came from and what was going on with the Devouring Heaven Empire. Why would they make a 100-year agreement with Longao? In everyone's opinion, the Devouring Heaven Empire should have directly attacked and killed Longao. Now, Longao had become famous in the Devouring Realm. After all, very few people dared to provoke the Devouring Heaven Empire. P.S. The official update will start at 9 a.m. tomorrow. 5 chapters a day. I will update more when I have time. Chapter 21:10. In the vast starry sky, Grand Cloud Empire ruled over thousands of worlds. Legend has it that there was only one titled World King in Grand Cloud Empire. Longao and the other two finally arrived at a world in Grand Cloud Empire after dozens of days of teleportation. Even if it was just one world, there were still many worlds. As for how many worlds there were, even Grand Cloud Empire did not know. We can exclude the low-level worlds. As for the middle and high-level worlds, we should choose carefully. He agreed with what Haifeng said. After thinking for a while, Longao said, Don't underestimate Grand Cloud Empire. To be able to establish an empire and rule over thousands of worlds, it is definitely not simple. The vast starry sky was even more cruel than Sky Martial World. To be able to survive in such an environment, this was already a problem. Brother Long, I know what you mean. Although we will not provoke Grand Cloud Empire, as long as we establish our own empire, we will definitely attract trouble. This is something unavoidable. Longao nodded. Not to mention Grand Cloud Empire, even if it was him, he would not allow anyone to establish an empire in his territory. It was simply an insult to him. Do you two have any opinions? Longao had never been an arbitrary person. Brother Long, I have already discussed this matter with Shimei. Rashly announcing the establishment of our empire is a bit rash. With the current situation, there is no benefit for us. Longao did not speak, because the two of them had not finished speaking. Haifeng continued, The best choice now is to not announce the establishment of our empire. We will first develop our strength in secret. When the time is right, it won't be too late to announce it. At this point, the two remained silent. No matter what, the two of them were only suggesting. The one who really made the decision was Longao. If Longao insisted on announcing the establishment of the empire, the two of them would not have the slightest objection. The two of them had already decided to live and die together. Since things had already come to this, what choice did he have? Longao was very clear that the current situation was very unfavorable to him. What the two of them said was the most beneficial. After thinking about it, Longao finally nodded and said, "Let's do as you said. First, we'll find a plane and then build an empire. However, we won't make it public. Once we have enough power, we'll make the empire public." Hearing this, the two of them were overjoyed. In the following period of time, the three of them began to search for the plane that the empire had established. In the vast starry sky, there were 3 levels of planes: low-level planes, mid-level planes, and high-level planes. Low-level planes had been eliminated. In fact, according to the precursors of countless starry sky empires, no matter which empire it would undoubtedly be a high-level plane. There had never been a starry sky empire that chose a low-level or mid-level plane. However, to Longao, it didn't matter whether it was an intermediate or advanced realm. The current Longao had just been established, and it was still a newborn cub. The empire still had a long way to go. After an entire month of searching, Longao and the other two finally settled on a plane. Mid-level plane, Boyun Plain. Boyun Plain could be said to be a very weak mid-level plane. The entire plane was intertwined with clans and sections. There were at least hundreds of them. The strongest person in the most powerful sect was only a starry sky domain emperor. With the strength of Longao and the other two, destroying the sect and clan was simply a matter of minutes. In order to end the battle quickly and not leave any trouble for himself, Longao chose an iron fist policy. Those who refused to comply were killed without mercy. Black Wind and Iji May were like 2 whirlwinds. Wherever they passed, not even a blade of grass grew. In a short 3 days, the two of them completely settled Boyun Plain and officially changed the plane to Soaring Dragon Empire, implying that the future Longao Empire could soar and rise in the vast starry sky. No one cared about the fall and rise of a plane at all, including the Grand Cloud Empire. There were countless planes. How could the Grand Cloud Empire take care of them all? Boyun Plain had completely disappeared from the Grand Cloud domain, and a new plane appeared, Soaring Dragon Plain. Soaring Dragon Plain. A new sect, Dragon Sect, appeared. Longao had already thought about this matter. First, he would establish Dragon Sect. With Dragon Sect as the center, he would slowly develop his forces. When the time was ripe, Dragon Sect would evolve into the Longao Empire. It was the best of both worlds. The establishment of Dragon Sect shocked countless people in Soaring Dragon Empire. A Starry Sky territory ancestor and a Starry Sky domain lord. With such super strength, how many people would be blind enough to resist Dragon Sect? Those who dared to resist were already killed. Dragon Sect's deterrence was not just for show. It was precisely because of the quick decision and the iron fist that the establishment of Dragon Sect was much less troublesome. All the forces chose to submit. Next, Dragon Sect began to recruit disciples. This was also the first step of Dragon Sect's establishment, and also the most difficult step. Longao had also thought about it. Dragon Sect would be the same as Sky Martial Continent, divided into Outer Sect, Inner Sect, and Core Sect. As long as one's talent and strength were on par, one could enter the Dragon Sect and become an Outer Sect disciple. As for becoming an Inner Sect disciple, one had to go through many rounds of selection. It wasn't just a matter of talent and strength. The most important thing was one's character and loyalty. Those were the most important things. As for the core disciples, the examination was even stricter. With the Dragon Sect's current strength, as well as the deterrence of Haifeng and Iji Mei, many people were attracted to the Dragon Sect. Countless people came from all directions. At least a few 100,000 people flocked to the Dragon Sect. However, the number of people who could become Dragon Sect's Outer Sect disciples in the end was only about 50,000. From the 50,000 Outer Sect disciples, Longao personally chose 1,000 people to enter the Inner Sect and set a strict examination. No matter who it was, they could not walk behind. Only by passing the examination could they enter the Inner Sect and become an Inner Sect disciple. As for core disciples, Longao didn't plan on immediately taking the examination. He wanted to let Longao and Iji observe the 1,000 inner sect disciples. As long as they could become core disciples, they would receive the dragon sect's full support. However, Longao wasn't a fool. Although he didn't plan on immediately recruiting core disciples, he still threw out the temptation. This way, all the outer sect disciples would want to enter the inner sect and become inner sect disciples, and all the inner sect disciples would want to become core disciples. Longao found a huge peak in the Soaring Dragon Plains northernmost region and named it Soaring Dragon Peak. Longao went all out to create a huge palace at the peak of Soaring Dragon Peak. It was extremely grand. Looking at Soaring Dragon Peak and the Grand Palace, Longao was very excited. That was because this was the first power he had established in the starry sky. It was also his starting point. He firmly believed that Dragon Sect would grow stronger and stronger in the future. Author's note: copy of the first chapter. Chapter 21:11. Master, you're ready to leave? After the establishment of Dragon Sect, everyone had changed their titles. Longao was naturally the master of Dragon Sect. As for Yi Mei and Hei Feng, they were the two elders of Dragon Sect. Yes, Dragon Sect has just been established. I shouldn't leave, but I haven't found my wife yet. I don't want to waste any more time, so I'll leave Dragon Sect to you. With Yi Mei and Hei Feng in Soaring Dragon Realm, Longao wasn't too worried. No matter what, with Yi Mei and Hei Feng's strength, unless the Starry Sky Realm King came personally, no one would dare to challenge Dragon Sect. Since that was the case, there wasn't much point in him staying. He had already wasted a lot of time in the vast starry sky. Until now, he still didn't know anything about Xiling and Bai Ling. He couldn't wait. Longao didn't know how Xiling and Bai Ling were doing. If they were in their prime, he wouldn't be worried at all. However, the situation was different now. Their primordial spirits hadn't fully recovered. In the vast starry sky, they could be in danger at any time. That was why Longao was worried. He had to find them as soon as possible. The longer he delayed, the more unfavorable it would be for them. Yi Mei and Hei Feng looked at each other. Both of them were well aware of the sect master's intentions. Both of them sighed helplessly. Master was loyal and affectionate. How could they stop him? Master, leave Dragon Sect to us. You can leave. When you come back, we'll give you a brand new Dragon Sect. Ha ha ha, great. Longao didn't leave immediately. Instead, he drank and chatted with the two for an entire day. Before he left, to make sure nothing went wrong, Longao walked around Soaring Dragon Realm. If he met a Starry Sky Territory Ancestor or a Starry Sky Realm Lord, he would kill them without mercy. He wouldn't leave any trouble for Dragon Sect. Although Longao was only a Starry Sky Realm Lord, he had two Starry Sky Corpse slaves. With the Universe Realm Lord and world-destroying Mad Dragon working together, no Starry Sky Realm Lord was a match for the two Starry Sky Corpse slaves. He stayed there for 3 days, and from the beginning to the end, neither Branch Plum Blossom nor Heifeng knew. 3 days later, Longao finally left the Soaring Dragon Realm and stepped into the Grand Cloud Realm. Longao knew very well that with Xiling and Bai Ling's strength, they were definitely not nobodies even in the vast universe. Even so, it was still difficult to find them. How should he make his move? He had no idea where to start. The vast starry sky was simply too big, with countless realms standing in great numbers. There were countless realms and planes. No one knew how many realms and planes there were in the vast starry sky. Searching for the two of them in the vast starry sky was like searching for a needle in a haystack. Brother, I wonder what happened in the plane ahead. Longao was very curious to see so many people rushing excitedly towards a plane. Was there something fishy about this plane? Don't bother me. Go away. With a cold expression, Longao reached out and grabbed the man's throat. I gave you face, but you didn't want it. This person was only a level 9 cultivator. How could he be Longao's opponent? Startled, the burly man begged for mercy. Calm down, calm down. I'll tell you. This was because he met Longao. If it was anyone else, he would have already killed him. In the vast starry sky, it was normal for people to die. Speak. Sometimes it was not good to be too polite. Some people were just so cheap. They wanted to take advantage of him, but they just had to be ruthless. The plane in front of us is a high-level plane. Just a few days ago, someone discovered two heavily injured primordial spirit sword spirits. According to the rumors, the two primordial spirit sword spirits seem to be titled world kings. Hee hee. If we can devour the primordial spirit sword spirits. That's right. At this point, the burly man didn't continue. Everyone knew what the burly man meant. What did it mean to have a primordial spirit jinling of a titled world king? If they could devour the primordial spirit jinling of a titled world king, they had an 80% chance of becoming a titled world king. Two primordial spirits jinling? Their true bodies had died, and only their primordial spirits remained? Could it be Xiling and Bailing? A bad premonition appeared. Longao prayed in his heart that the two primordial spirits Jinling discovered in the high-level plane could not be Xiling and Bailing otherwise. No one could guarantee that the two would be fine. F***CK. Don't be in such a hurry, the large man cursed. Without any hesitation, he immediately headed towards the high-level plane. After all, the temptation of two titled world kings' primordial spirit sword spirits was too great. No matter who it was, even a titled world king would not be able to resist. The wind cloud plane was the high-level plane that everyone was heading to. It was not a very powerful high-level plane. In the wind cloud plane, the wind cloud sect had an absolute ruling position. The master of the wind cloud sect was also the #1 powerhouse of the wind cloud plane. He was a starry sky territory ancestor and was a famous existence in the grand cloud plane. Currently, the wind cloud sect was depressed to the extreme. They didn't know who had spread the news that there were two titled world kings jinling in the wind cloud plane, causing the wind cloud plane to be in a state of turmoil. With so many powerhouses coming in, who knew if these powerhouses would go crazy and attack the wind cloud sect? The jinling of two titled world kings attracted many powerhouses, including many starry sky territory masters. As for whether or not there were any starry sky territory masters, Longao didn't know. In any case, there definitely weren't any titled world kings because it was impossible for a titled world king to appear. I hope it's them. Now, Longao was very conflicted. He hoped that the two Jinling were Xiling and Bailing, but he also didn't want the two Jinling to be Bailing and Xiling. Everyone who entered the wind cloud plane was fighting for themselves. All of them wanted to obtain the two primordial Jinling. With the current situation, they could only see who was lucky enough to obtain the two primordial Jinling. According to the rumors, the original bodies of the two titled world kings had already fallen. Only their primordial Jinling remained. Moreover, their primordial spirits were seriously injured. At this time, as long as they could find the two primordial Jinling, then devouring the two primordial Jinling would be an easy matter. The wind cloud plane was a high-grade plane. It was boundless and extremely large. Even if it wasn't as large as the universe plane, it wasn't much different. Longao quickly headed towards the left. He was very worried. If the two primordial Jinling were really Xiling and Bailing, then he had to find them as quickly as possible. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. The more it was like this, the more anxious Longao was. He couldn't let others find the whereabouts of the two. No one knew the whereabouts of the two primordial Jinling, but everyone was sure that the two Jinling were still in the sealed plane. P.S. Send the second chapter here. Chapter 21:12. Currently, the wind cloud plane had been sealed off. How could two seriously injured essence spirit Jinling leave so easily? The wind cloud plane was just too big. Even with Longao's speed, it was not easy to search every corner carefully. Aura cover? No one who came in chose to cover their aura. The reason was simple. If they chose to cover their aura, once they were discovered by the two essence spirit Jinling, it was easy to imagine what would happen. If someone casually used their aura cover to scare away the two essence spirit Jinling, the others would not agree. At that time, if they provoked public anger, it was easy to imagine what the consequences would be. Everyone searched. Longao's speed soared to the extreme. The longer he delayed, the more worried he became. The two essence spirit Jianling seemed to have disappeared. Wind Cloud Cliff. Longao received news that someone had seen two essence spirit Jianling at Wind Cloud Cliff. Wind Cloud Cliff was the highest mountain in the Wind Cloud Plain. However, the natural environment was extremely harsh. When the Wind Cloud Empire chose the location, they had no choice but to give up Wind Cloud Cliff. Whether it was true or not, Longao did not dare to be careless. What if it was true? With Xiling and Bai Ling's current situation, they could not resist the siege of Starry Sky cultivators. Wind Cloud Cliff. The natural environment was very harsh. At a glance, it seemed to reach the highest heavens. Currently, the storm cliff had become the focus of attention. 90% of the people who had stepped into the storm cliff had rushed over because everyone had a glimmer of hope. It would be great if they could find two primordial spirit sword spirits here. No one dared to casually step into Wind Cloud Cliff. Were the two essence spirit Jinling here? In fact, everyone had other thoughts. They were afraid that the two essence spirit Jinling would act out of desperation. At that time, the gains would not make up for the losses. A titled world king, even if the two essence spirit Jinling were seriously injured, once they chose to self-destruct, the entire Wind Cloud Cliff would be reduced to nothing. No one was willing to be the first to do so. Fengyun Cliff was already surrounded. Not to mention the primordial spirit Jinling. Even a fly would find it hard to escape. Look, someone went in. Say, let's go too. The first person to rush into Storm Cliff was, without a doubt, Longao. Others might be afraid, but Longao didn't care at all. No matter how dangerous the Storm Cliff was, he had to enter. Many people were still in a dilemma. If they entered the Storm Cliff, the consequences would be unimaginable if the two primordial spirits Jianling self-destructed. If he didn't enter, wouldn't he miss the opportunity if someone else obtained the two primordial spirits Jianling? Enter or not? With no room to advance or retreat, many people continued to enter Storm Cliff. The Storm Cliff was full of eeriness. Back then, even Storm Cliff was afraid to set foot there. From this, one could imagine how bad the situation at Storm Cliff was. At this moment, a scream suddenly rang out. Under everyone's horrified gazes, a grade 9 starry sky cultivator was shrouded by a strong wind. Before this grade 9 starry sky cultivator could react, his whole body had already been dismembered. Everyone was shocked. A grade 9 starry sky cultivator, under normal circumstances, was already a relatively powerful existence and should not be able to withstand any kind of strong wind. But what was the result? The grade 9 starry sky cultivator did not have the slightest power to resist, as if it was cutting through tofu. With the grade 9 starry sky cultivator as an example, everyone became extra careful. No one wanted to repeat the same mistake and get killed by the strong wind. Longao's luck was not good. As soon as he stepped into Storm Cliff, before he could even start looking for the two people, the strong wind directly shrouded him. However, the place he was in was relatively hidden, and there was no second person around. It was a shock. Not daring to have the slightest hesitation, Longao immediately used the shattering starry sky in all directions. Streaks of starry sky cracks quickly appeared, forcibly resisting the extermination of the strong wind. Even so, Longao still felt a little scared. If he had reacted a little slower, maybe he would have died. At this moment, Longao finally understood why the rumor said that the Storm Cliff had chosen to give up on Storm Cliff. So that was the reason. It was very scary. Not wanting to take any more risks, Longao moved step by step and carefully looked for them. As long as he could sense the strong wind, he would immediately dodge or use shattering starry sky. This way, he would be able to escape without any danger. Xiling Bai Ling, you must be safe. As time passed, Longao had a bad premonition in his heart. The people who entered Storm Cliff continued to die, one after another. Even their corpses could not be found, not to mention their primordial spirits. They could not enter the path of reincarnation. Even so, no one was willing to leave. Everyone hoped to devour the two primordial spirits. After all, the temptation of two titled world kings Jinling was too great. Even though they knew that life and death were at stake, they still resolutely chose to stay and look for the two primordial spirits. There was still no trace of them. Of the tens of thousands of starry sky cultivators who entered, not a single one could find the whereabouts of the two primordial spirits. Could it be that the two primordial spirits had already left Stormcliff? That was not very likely. Someone spread the news that the two primordial spirits were at Stormcliff. In an instant, they had surrounded Stormcliff. Not to mention the two primordial spirits, even an ant would not be able to leave. Since the two primordial spirits were still at Stormcliff, where were they hiding? In the storm plain, the winds and clouds were changing. As the overlord of the Fengyan Plain, the Fengyan Empire was powerless. They could only allow these people to do whatever they wanted in their territory. In the end, the Fengyan Empire was still not strong enough. If they had a Starry Sky Realm King or a titled Realm King, who would dare to step into the Fengyan Plain? Unfortunately, the strongest person in the Storm Empire was the Starry Sky Realm Ancestor. This time, there were dozens of Starry Sky Realm Lords and 2 Starry Sky Realm Kings who had entered the Storm Plain. What kind of concept was this? Whether it was dozens of Starry Sky Realm Lords or 2 Starry Sky Realm Kings, if they wanted to destroy the Storm Empire, it would be a matter of minutes. Because of this, the Storm Empire could only be obedient. However, the Storm Empire did not sit still and wait for death. Even if they could not stop the crowd, everyone had a share of the 2 primordial spirits. To obtain the 2 primordial spirits was not a matter of strength. The most important thing was a matter of luck. There were at least several thousand people who had entered Stormcliff. There were even more people who stayed outside. In the end, the majority of the people were afraid of death. This was because they could not be sure whether the 2 primordial spirits were at Stormcliff. What if they were not? P.S. Copy of the 3rd chapter. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.